The overview effect, a truly profound experience that astronauts often describe as life-changing. Imagine floating in the vast, silent expanse of space, looking back at Earth. From that distance, our planet is a shimmering blue marble, dotted with swirls of white clouds and patches of green and brown. There are no borders, no divisions, just one interconnected, fragile sphere suspended in the infinite blackness of space. This perspective shifts something deep within those who witness it. Astronauts often talk about feeling an overwhelming sense of awe, as if they're seeing Earth for the first time, not just as a place they live, but as a living, breathing entity. At the same time, they feel a humbling sense of insignificance. The problems and conflicts that seem so huge down here, politics, wars, even personal struggles, suddenly feel small and distant. From space, Earth is a single, unified home, and humanity is one family sharing it. The overview effect isn't just about seeing, it's about feeling. It's a reminder of how delicate and precious our planet is, and how interconnected all life truly is. Many astronauts return with a renewed sense of responsibility to protect and care for Earth. It's a perspective that, if we could all experience it, might just change the way we treat our world and each other. The butterfly effect. The butterfly effect is a fascinating idea that reminds us how interconnected and delicate the world really is. Imagine a butterfly flapping its wings in a quiet forest. Such a tiny, almost invisible action might seem insignificant, but under the right conditions, it could set off a chain reaction. That single flap could stir the air just enough to influence a breeze, which grows into a wind and eventually contributes to a storm halfway across the world. It's a poetic way of saying that small actions can lead to big, unpredictable outcomes. This concept isn't just about weather. It applies to life, too. Think about the choices you make every day. A kind word to a stranger, a decision to take a different route, or even a moment of hesitation can ripple out in ways you might never expect. Maybe that kind word lifts someone's spirits, inspiring them to do something extraordinary. Or perhaps taking that different route leads you to meet someone who changes your life. The butterfly effect teaches us that nothing exists in isolation. Every action, no matter how small, is part of a vast, intricate web of cause and effect. It's both humbling and empowering. It reminds us to be mindful of our choices, because even the tiniest ones can shape the world in ways we can't yet imagine. Life, in all its complexity, is beautifully unpredictable. The Dunning-Kruger Effect. Have you ever met someone who's utterly confident about something they're clearly not good at? That's the Dunning-Kruger Effect in action. It's a curious quirk of human psychology where people with low skills or knowledge tend to overestimate their abilities. They don't know enough to realize how much they don't know. On the flip side, truly skilled people often underestimate themselves because they're so aware of the complexity of their field. They assume others know just as much as they do. This effect reminds us that self-awareness is a skill in itself. It's humbling to think that the more we learn, the more we realize how much there is to learn. It also encourages us to approach life with curiosity and humility, knowing that confidence doesn't always equal competence. The Dunning-Kruger Effect is a gentle nudge to keep questioning, growing, and staying open to feedback. The Peter Principle. Imagine climbing a ladder, rung by rung, only to find yourself stuck at the top, completely out of your depth. That's the Peter Principle. The idea that people in organizations tend to get promoted until they reach a level where they're no longer competent. A great teacher might become a terrible principal, or a brilliant engineer might struggle as a manager. This happens because the skills that make someone successful in one role aren't always the same skills needed for the next. It's a reminder that success isn't just about climbing higher, it's about finding the right fit. The Peter Principle encourages us to think carefully about what we're truly good at and what brings us fulfillment, rather than chasing titles or status for their own sake. The paradox of choice. You think having more options would make life better, right? But sometimes, too many choices can leave us feeling overwhelmed and unsatisfied. This is the paradox of choice. Whether it's picking a cereal at the grocery store or deciding on a career path, an abundance of options can lead to anxiety, regret, and even paralysis. When faced with endless possibilities, we worry about making the perfect choice. And even after we decide, we might second-guess ourselves, wondering if we missed out on something better. The paradox of choice teaches us that sometimes less is more. Simplifying our options can bring clarity and peace, helping us focus on what truly matters rather than getting lost in the noise. Baader-Meinhof Phenomenon. Have you ever learned a new word or noticed something for the first time, only to suddenly see it everywhere? That's the Baader-Meinhof Phenomenon, also known as frequency illusion. It's not that the thing is suddenly appearing more often, it's that your brain has tuned into it. This phenomenon happens because our brains are wired to notice patterns. Once something catches our attention, we become hyper-aware of it, and it feels like it's popping up all the time. It's a reminder of how selective our perception can be. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon is like a little magic trick of the mind, showing us how much of the world we filter out, and how much we can discover when we start paying attention. Semantic satiation. Say a word out loud, over and over again. After a while, it starts to sound strange, almost like it's not a real word anymore. This is semantic satiation, a quirky glitch in how our brains process language. When we repeat a word too many times, our brain temporarily resets its meaning, making it feel hollow or meaningless. It's a fascinating reminder of how our minds work. Words are just symbols, and their meaning comes from the connections we make in our brains. Semantic satiation shows how fragile those connections can be when overused. It's also a playful nudge to appreciate the richness of language and how much meaning we pack into simple sounds and letters. The law of diminishing returns. Imagine you're eating your favorite dessert. The first bite is heavenly, the second is just as good, but by the fifth or sixth bite, it starts to lose its magic. This is the law of diminishing returns in action. The idea that adding more of something eventually gives you less and less value. It's a principle that shows up in almost every aspect of life, from work and study to relationships and leisure. For example, let's say you're studying for an exam. The first few hours are productive, and you feel like you're making real progress. But after a while, your focus starts to fade, and the extra effort doesn't translate into better results. In fact, pushing yourself too hard might leave you exhausted and less prepared than if you'd taken a break. Similarly, in business, hiring more employees might boost productivity at first, but beyond a certain point, adding more people can lead to inefficiency and confusion. The law of diminishing returns teaches us to recognize when enough is enough. It's a reminder that more isn't always better, and that there's a sweet spot where effort and reward are perfectly balanced. This concept encourages us to focus on quality over quantity, to know when to step back, and to appreciate the value of moderation. By understanding this principle, we can make smarter decisions, avoid burnout, and find greater satisfaction in what we do. It's a gentle nudge to work smarter, not harder, and to appreciate the beauty of balance in life. The Hedonic Treadmill. Have you ever noticed how quickly the excitement of a new job, a raise, or even a vacation fades? That's the Hedonic Treadmill, a psychological phenomenon where we return to a baseline level of happiness, no matter how good or bad things get. It's like running on a treadmill. No matter how fast or far you go, you always end up in the same place. When something wonderful happens, we feel a surge of joy, but over time, we adapt to it. The new job becomes routine, the raise feels normal, and the vacation memories start to fade. The same goes for negative events. After a while, we bounce back to our usual emotional state. This treadmill effect happens because humans are wired to adapt to change, both good and bad. It's a survival mechanism that helps us stay stable in an ever-changing world. The hedonic treadmill isn't all bad, though. It shows our incredible resilience and ability to find stability in life's ups and downs. But it also reminds us that chasing external achievements, like money, status, or possessions, won't bring lasting happiness. Instead, it encourages us to focus on internal sources of joy, like gratitude, relationships, and mindfulness. By stepping off the treadmill, we can find deeper, more sustainable contentment. It's a call to appreciate the present moment, cultivate meaningful connections, and seek fulfillment in the simple, everyday joys of life. Cognitive dissonance. Imagine believing strongly in being environmentally friendly, but driving a gas-guzzling car. That uncomfortable tension you feel, that's cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort that comes from holding two contradictory beliefs or behaviors. It's like a tug of war in your mind, where your actions and beliefs are pulling in opposite directions. Our brains crave consistency, so when our actions don't align with our beliefs, we feel uneasy. To ease this discomfort, we might change our beliefs, justify our actions, or even ignore the contradiction altogether. For example, someone who smokes might downplay the health risks to feel better about their habit, or someone who values honesty might convince themselves that a little white lie doesn't really count. Cognitive dissonance is a powerful force in decision-making and behavior. It shows how much we value harmony in our thoughts and actions. But it also reveals our capacity for self-deception. By becoming aware of this phenomenon, we can make more intentional choices and align our actions with our values, creating a sense of inner peace and authenticity. It's a reminder to stay true to ourselves, even when it's uncomfortable, and to embrace the growth that comes from facing our contradictions head-on. Pluralistic ignorance. Picture this. You're in a classroom, and the teacher asks if anyone has questions. No one raises their hand, so you stay quiet too, even though you're confused. Later, you find out everyone else was just as confused but didn't speak up either. That's pluralistic ignorance, when everyone follows a norm they privately disagree with because they assume everyone else agrees. This phenomenon happens because we look to others for cues on how to behave, especially in uncertain situations. We don't want to stand out or be wrong, so we stay silent, even if it goes against our true feelings. Pluralistic ignorance can perpetuate harmful norms, like excessive drinking in social settings or avoiding difficult conversations. It's like a collective game of pretend, where everyone is playing along, but no one is truly comfortable. Breaking free from pluralistic ignorance starts with courage. By speaking up, we might discover that others share our thoughts, creating a ripple effect of honesty and change. It's a reminder that sometimes the crowd isn't as confident as it seems, and that our voice can make a difference. It's an invitation to be brave, to question the status quo, and to create spaces where people feel safe to express their true thoughts and feelings. In doing so, we can build more authentic and supportive communities. The bystander effect. Imagine witnessing an emergency in a crowded place. You want to help, but you hesitate, assuming someone else will step in. This is the bystander effect. The more people present, the less likely anyone is to take action. It's a phenomenon that reveals how social dynamics can sometimes hinder our willingness to help others. This happens because responsibility gets diffused in a crowd. When we're alone, we feel a clear sense of duty to help. But in a group, we think, surely someone else will do something. Unfortunately, everyone thinks the same way, leading to inaction. The bystander effect has been observed in many real-life situations, from minor accidents to major crises, and it highlights the power of social influence on our behavior. The bystander effect also reminds us of the importance of individual responsibility. It shows that in moments of crisis, we can't rely on the crowd. Instead, we must take initiative, even if it feels uncomfortable. By being the one to step forward, we can break the cycle of inaction and make a meaningful difference. It's a call to be brave, compassionate, and proactive, even when others hesitate. It's also a reminder that small actions, like calling for help or offering support, can have a big impact. By understanding this phenomenon, we can become more aware of our own behavior and more willing to help others, creating a kinder and more connected world. Imposter syndrome. Have you ever achieved something great, landed a dream job, aced an exam, or received praise for your work, only to feel like you don't deserve it? That's imposter syndrome, the nagging feeling that you're a fraud despite all the evidence of your competence. It's like a little voice in your head whispering, "You just got lucky," or "They'll figure out you're not good enough." This phenomenon is surprisingly common, affecting people from all walks of life, including high achievers. It often stems from perfectionism, fear of failure, or comparing ourselves to others. We focus on our flaws and mistakes, dismissing our successes as flukes. Over time, this can lead to anxiety, self-doubt, and even burnout. But here's the thing: imposter syndrome doesn't mean you're actually an imposter. In fact, it's often a sign that you care deeply about your work and hold yourself to high standards. The key is to recognize these feelings for what they are, just feelings, not facts. By acknowledging your achievements, seeking support, and reframing your self-talk, you can quiet that inner critic. Imposter syndrome reminds us that confidence isn't about never doubting yourself. It's about moving forward despite the doubts. It's a call to embrace your imperfections and trust in your abilities, even when it feels uncomfortable. The Stockholm Syndrome. Imagine being in a situation where you're completely powerless, like a hostage or an abusive relationship. Over time, instead of resisting or resenting your captor, you start to feel loyalty, affection, or even gratitude toward them. This is Stockholm Syndrome, a psychological response where victims form an emotional bond with their abusers as a way to cope with fear and trauma. This phenomenon might seem baffling, but it's rooted in survival instincts. When we're in danger, our brains look for ways to reduce the threat. By aligning with the captor, the victim might feel safer or gain small comforts, like food or kindness. Over time, this can create a distorted sense of connection, making it harder to break free. Stockholm Syndrome reminds us of the complexity of human psychology and the lengths we'll go to survive. It's a stark reminder of how power dynamics can shape our emotions and behaviors. Understanding this syndrome can help us empathize with survivors of trauma and recognize the subtle ways control and fear can influence our relationships. It's a call to approach such situations with compassion and to support those who may be struggling to reclaim their sense of self. Tantalus Punishment. In Greek mythology, Tantalus was a king who offended the gods and was punished for eternity. He was placed in a pool of water beneath a fruit tree, but whenever he reached for the fruit, it pulled away, and whenever he bent to drink, the water receded. This myth captures the essence of Tantalus Punishment, the agony of always reaching for what you want, but never quite grasping it. This concept resonates deeply in modern life. Think about how often we chase after goals, success, love, happiness, only to find that achieving them doesn't bring the lasting satisfaction we expected. It's like running on a treadmill, always moving but never arriving. This can lead to frustration, exhaustion, and a sense of emptiness. Tantalus Punishment reminds us to reflect on what we're truly seeking and why. Are we chasing external validation, or are we looking for something deeper? It's a call to shift our focus from the endless pursuit of more to appreciating what we already have. By finding contentment in the present moment, we can break free from the cycle of longing and discover a more fulfilling way of living. The paradox of tolerance. Imagine a society that values tolerance above all else. At first, this seems ideal. Everyone is free to express their beliefs and live as they choose. But what happens when intolerant groups use this freedom to spread hate and undermine the very principles of tolerance? This is the paradox of tolerance, the idea that unlimited tolerance can eventually destroy itself. Philosopher Karl Popper introduced this concept to highlight a difficult truth. If a society tolerates intolerance, it risks allowing harmful ideologies to take root and erode the foundations of freedom and equality. For example, allowing hate speech or discriminatory practices under the guise of free expression can lead to the oppression of marginalized groups. To protect tolerance, we must sometimes be intolerant of intolerance. This paradox challenges us to think critically about the limits of freedom and the responsibilities that come with it. It's not about silencing differing opinions or stifling debate. It's about safeguarding the values that make open dialogue possible. Tolerance doesn't mean accepting everything. It means creating a space where diverse perspectives can coexist without fear of harm or oppression. The paradox of tolerance reminds us that balance is key. We must stand firm against hate while preserving the space for diverse perspectives. It's a call to be vigilant, thoughtful, and courageous in defending the principles that unite us. By drawing a line against intolerance, we protect the very fabric of a tolerant society, ensuring that freedom and equality can thrive for everyone. It's a delicate but necessary act of preserving what truly matters. Chekhov's gun. In storytelling, there's a principle called Chekhov's gun. If a gun is introduced in the first act, it must go off by the third. In other words, every element in a story should have a purpose. This principle creates tight, meaningful narratives where every detail contributes to the whole. But what if life doesn't work that way? What if some things exist without a clear reason or resolution? This idea can feel unsettling. We're wired to look for meaning and patterns, to believe that everything happens for a reason. We want life to feel like a well-crafted story, where every event ties neatly into a larger narrative. But life is messy and unpredictable. Not every detail serves a grand purpose, and not every loose end gets tied up. Chekhov's gun challenges us to embrace the ambiguity of life. It's a reminder that not everything needs to fit into a tidy story. Sometimes, things just are. A chance encounter, a random event, or an unexplained detail might not have a deeper meaning, and that's okay. By letting go of the need for constant meaning, we can find beauty in the randomness and imperfection of existence. This concept invites us to live with curiosity and openness, appreciating life's twists and turns without always needing to know why. It's a call to focus on the journey rather than the destination, to find joy in the unexpected, and to accept that not everything has to make sense. In doing so, we can cultivate a deeper sense of wonder and gratitude for the unpredictable, messy, and beautiful tapestry of life. The narcissism of small differences. Have you ever noticed how people who are very similar often argue the most fiercely? This is the narcissism of small differences, a concept introduced by Sigmund Freud. It suggests that the closer two groups or individuals are in identity, background, or beliefs, the more likely they are to focus on and exaggerate their minor differences. These small distinctions become a source of conflict, even though they might seem trivial to an outsider. For example, two neighboring towns with nearly identical cultures might feud over a small difference in dialect or tradition. Or consider how political parties with similar ideologies often engage in bitter disputes over minor policy details. This phenomenon happens because these small differences help people define their identity and feel unique. In a world where we're constantly searching for ways to stand out, even the tiniest distinctions can become battlegrounds. The narcissism of small differences reminds us of the human tendency to create divisions, even where there's more that unites us than separates us. It's a call to step back and recognize the bigger picture, to focus on shared values rather than minor disagreements. By understanding this concept, we can approach conflicts with greater empathy and perspective, seeking common ground instead of magnifying differences. It's a reminder that sometimes the things we fight over the hardest are the least important in the grand scheme of things. The illusion of transparency. Have you ever felt like your emotions were written all over your face, only to find out later that no one noticed? That's the illusion of transparency, the belief that our thoughts and feelings are more obvious to others than they actually are. We assume that people can read our minds or see into our hearts, but in reality, they're often too focused on their own experiences to pick up on our subtle cues. This phenomenon can lead to misunderstandings and frustration. For example, you might think your disappointment is obvious during a conversation, but the other person remains completely unaware. Or you might assume that your nervousness during a presentation is glaringly apparent, when in fact, the audience sees only confidence. The illusion of transparency creates a gap between how we feel and how we're perceived, often leaving us feeling isolated or misunderstood. The illusion of transparency reminds us to communicate more openly and clearly. Instead of assuming others know what we're thinking or feeling, we can express ourselves directly. It's also a call to practice empathy, recognizing that others might be experiencing their own version of this illusion. By bridging the gap between perception and reality, we can build stronger, more authentic connections with those around us. False memory syndrome. Imagine vividly remembering an event from your childhood, a family vacation, a birthday party, or a conversation, only to find out it never happened. This is false memory syndrome, a phenomenon where the brain creates detailed, convincing memories of events that are entirely fictional. These memories can feel as real and emotionally charged as genuine ones, making it difficult to distinguish fact from fiction. False memories often arise from suggestion, imagination, or external influences. For example, a leading question from a therapist or a suggestive comment from a family member can plant the seed of a false memory. Over time, the brain fills in the details, creating a complete narrative that feels authentic. This phenomenon has significant implications, especially in legal settings where eyewitness testimony can be unreliable. False memory syndrome reminds us of the fallibility of human memory. It's a call to approach our recollections with humility and skepticism, recognizing that our minds are not perfect recorders of events. By understanding this concept, we can become more critical of our own memories and more compassionate toward others whose recollections might differ from ours. It's a reminder that reality is often more complex and elusive than we think. The Einstellung Effect. Imagine you're solving a puzzle and you keep using the same strategy, even though it's not working. You know there's probably a better way, but you can't seem to break free from your old habits. This is the Einstellung Effect, the tendency to rely on familiar solutions, even when they're no longer effective, while overlooking simpler or more innovative approaches. This phenomenon happens because our brains prefer efficiency. Once we've learned a method that works, we stick to it, even if it's not the best option in a new situation. The Einstellung Effect can show up in all areas of life, from problem solving at work to navigating personal relationships. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole because that's the way you've always done it. The Einstellung Effect reminds us to stay open to new possibilities. It's a call to question our assumptions, challenge our routines, and embrace creativity. By breaking free from mental ruts, we can discover more effective and fulfilling ways of approaching challenges. It's a reminder that sometimes the best solution is the one we haven't tried yet. The Pygmalion Effect. Imagine a teacher who believes a student is exceptionally bright and treats them accordingly. Over time, the student begins to excel, not because they were inherently gifted, but because the teacher's high expectations inspired them to rise to the occasion. This is the Pygmalion Effect, the phenomenon where people perform better or worse based on the expectations placed on them. This effect works both ways. Positive expectations can boost confidence, motivation, and performance, while negative expectations can lead to self-doubt and underachievement. The Pygmalion Effect shows the power of belief, not just in ourselves, but in how others see us. It's a reminder that the expectations we set for others, whether as parents, teachers, or leaders, can shape their reality. The Pygmalion Effect encourages us to foster a culture of belief and encouragement. By setting high but realistic expectations and offering support, we can help others unlock their potential. It's also a call to reflect on the expectations we place on ourselves. Are they lifting us up or holding us back? By harnessing the power of belief, we can create a ripple effect of growth and achievement. Gaslighting. Imagine someone constantly telling you that your memories are wrong, your feelings are invalid, or your perception of reality is flawed. Over time, you start to doubt yourself, questioning your own thoughts and experiences. This is gaslighting, a form of psychological manipulation where someone makes you doubt your reality to gain power or control over you. The term comes from the 1938 play Gaslight, where a husband manipulates his wife into believing she's going insane by dimming the lights and denying it's happening. Gaslighting can happen in personal relationships, workplaces, or even on a societal level. It often starts subtly, with small lies or dismissive comments, but over time, it erodes your confidence and sense of self. Gaslighting is deeply damaging because it isolates you from your own truth. You might start to rely on the manipulator to define reality for you, creating a toxic dependency. It's a form of emotional abuse that can leave lasting scars, including anxiety, depression, and a diminished sense of self-worth. Recognizing gaslighting is the first step to breaking free. Trusting your instincts, seeking support from trusted friends or professionals, and setting boundaries are crucial. Gaslighting reminds us of the importance of self-trust and the need to protect our mental and emotional well-being. It's a call to stand firm in our truth, even when others try to distort it, and to create spaces where honesty and respect are valued. Hyperreality, Baudrillard. Imagine a world where the line between reality and simulation becomes so blurred that you can no longer tell the difference. This is hyperreality, a concept introduced by philosopher Jean Baudrillard. In a hyperreal world, media, technology, and simulations become more real than reality itself, shaping our perceptions and experiences in profound ways. Think about how social media creates idealized versions of life, or how virtual reality can feel more immersive than the physical world. In hyperreality, symbols, images, and representations replace actual experiences, creating a simulated reality that feels more compelling than the real thing. For example, a photo of a sunset might feel more real than the actual sunset because it's filtered, edited, and shared for validation. Hyperreality challenges us to question what's real and what's constructed. It's a reminder that our perceptions are often shaped by external forces, from advertising to algorithms, and that we risk losing touch with authentic experiences. This concept invites us to reflect on how we engage with media and technology, and to seek moments of genuine connection and presence. Hyperreality is both fascinating and unsettling. It shows how deeply embedded simulations are in our lives, but it also encourages us to reclaim our sense of reality. By stepping back from the noise of hyperreality, we can reconnect with the tangible, the authentic, and the meaningful. The Uncanny Valley. Imagine a robot that looks almost human. Its features are lifelike, its movements fluid, but something about it feels off. This eerie discomfort is the Uncanny Valley, a concept that describes our aversion to things that are almost, but not quite, human. The closer something gets to resembling a human without fully achieving it, the more unsettling it becomes. The Uncanny Valley was first identified in robotics, but applies to many areas, from CGI characters in movies to virtual assistants. When something falls into the Uncanny Valley, it triggers a sense of unease because it challenges our expectations. We're wired to recognize and connect with humans, so when something looks human but doesn't behave quite right, it creates cognitive dissonance. This phenomenon has important implications for design and technology. Creators must carefully balance realism and artificiality to avoid triggering discomfort. The Uncanny Valley also reveals something profound about human nature, our deep sensitivity to subtle cues that define what it means to be human. The Uncanny Valley reminds us of the complexity of human perception and the importance of authenticity. It's a call to embrace imperfections and recognize that sometimes less realism can feel more real. By understanding this concept, we can create technologies and art that resonate with people rather than alienate them. Capgras Delusion. Imagine looking at a loved one, a parent, partner, or friend, and being convinced that they've been replaced by an imposter. This is Capgras Delusion, a rare psychological condition where someone believes that the people they know have been duplicated or replaced by identical-looking strangers. This delusion often arises from a disconnect between the brain's facial recognition system and its emotional processing. While the person recognizes the face, they don't feel the emotional connection that should accompany it, leading them to conclude that the person must be an imposter. Capgras delusion is most commonly associated with brain injuries, dementia, or psychiatric conditions, but it can also occur in otherwise healthy individuals. Capgras delusion is deeply distressing, both for the person experiencing it and their loved ones. It challenges our understanding of identity, trust, and reality, showing how fragile our perception of the world can be. This condition reminds us of the intricate interplay between the brain and emotions, and how easily that balance can be disrupted. Understanding Capgras delusion encourages empathy for those experiencing it and highlights the importance of mental health care. It's a reminder that reality is not always as solid as it seems, and that our minds can play tricks on us in profound and unsettling ways. The Mandela Effect. Imagine vividly remembering something, a quote, a logo, or a historical event, only to discover that your memory is completely wrong. Even stranger, you find out that many others share the same false memory. This is the Mandela Effect, a phenomenon where large groups of people collectively misremember details about the world. The term comes from the widespread belief that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s, when in fact he was released and lived until 2013. Other examples include misremembering the Berenstain Bears as the Berenstein Bears, or thinking that the Monopoly Man wears a monocle. He doesn't. These shared false memories are often attributed to the fallibility of human memory, the power of suggestion, or the influence of media. The Mandela Effect is both fascinating and unsettling. It shows how easily our memories can be distorted and how deeply interconnected our perceptions are. It also raises questions about the nature of reality and how much of what we know is shaped by collective belief rather than fact. This phenomenon reminds us to approach our memories with humility and curiosity. It's a call to question what we think we know and to remain open to new information. The Mandela Effect is a playful yet profound reminder that reality is often more fluid and mysterious than we assume. The Sorites Paradox. Imagine holding a single grain of sand in your hand. Is it a heap? Of course not. Add another grain. Still not a heap. But if you keep adding grains, one by one, at what point does it become a heap? This is the Sorites Paradox, a philosophical puzzle that challenges our understanding of boundaries, categories, and the nature of change. The paradox gets its name from the Greek word soros, meaning heap, and it highlights the difficulty of defining vague concepts. When does a collection of grains become a heap? Is it 100 grains? 1,000? The problem is that there's no clear threshold. Each grain added seems insignificant, yet the cumulative effect is undeniable. This paradox extends far beyond grains of sand. It applies to many aspects of life where boundaries are fuzzy. When does a child become an adult? When does a drizzle become a rainstorm? When do small changes in our identity or habits mean we're no longer the same person? These questions don't have easy answers, and that's the point. The Sorites Paradox forces us to confront the fluidity of language and reality. It also raises deeper questions about how we perceive and categorize the world. Our brains crave clarity and certainty, but the world is often messy and ambiguous. The Sorites Paradox reminds us that not everything can be neatly defined or measured. It's a call to embrace uncertainty and recognize that change is often gradual and imperceptible. Ultimately, the Sorites Paradox isn't just a thought experiment. It's a reflection of the human condition. It challenges us to think critically about how we define ourselves and the world around us. By grappling with this paradox, we can develop a more nuanced understanding of reality and appreciate the beauty of its complexity. Acrasia, have you ever known exactly what you should do, exercise, study, save money, but found yourself doing the opposite? This is acrasia, the ancient Greek term for acting against one's better judgment. It's the gap between knowing what's right and actually doing it, a struggle that's as old as humanity itself. Acrasia is often driven by the tension between our short-term desires and long-term goals. We might want to eat healthily, but the temptation of a sugary treat is too strong. We might know we should work on a project, but the allure of procrastination is irresistible. This internal conflict is a fundamental part of being human, rooted in the way our brains are wired. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning and decision-making, often battles with the limbic system, which seeks immediate rewards. When the limbic system wins, acrasia takes hold. This explains why we often prioritize instant gratification over long-term benefits, even when we know better. But acrasia isn't just a personal failing. It's a call to understand ourselves better. By recognizing the forces that drive our behavior, we can develop strategies to overcome them. For example, breaking tasks into smaller steps, creating accountability, or removing temptations can help bridge the gap between intention and action. Acrasia also reminds us to be compassionate with ourselves. Everyone struggles with self-control at times, and beating ourselves up only makes it harder to change. Instead, we can approach our weaknesses with curiosity and kindness, using them as opportunities for growth. Ultimately, acrasia is a reminder that knowledge alone isn't enough. True change requires action, and action requires courage, discipline, and self-awareness. By confronting acrasia head-on, we can align our actions with our values and create a life that reflects who we truly want to be. Zeno's paradoxes. Imagine trying to walk across a room. To reach the other side, you must first cover half the distance, then half of the remaining distance, and so on. According to Zeno's paradox, you'll never actually reach the end because there will always be another half to traverse. This is one of Zeno's famous paradoxes, designed to challenge our understanding of motion and infinity. Zeno, an ancient Greek philosopher, used these paradoxes to argue that movement is an illusion. His reasoning seems logical at first. If space and time can be infinitely divided, how can motion ever occur? Yet, we know from experience that movement is real. So what's going on? The resolution lies in the nature of infinity and the mathematics of limits. While it's true that you can divide a distance infinitely, the sum of these infinite divisions is finite. In other words, you can cross the room because the infinite steps add up to a finite distance. This insight, developed centuries later by mathematicians like Newton and Leibniz, laid the foundation for calculus. Zeno's paradoxes aren't just intellectual curiosities. They reveal profound truths about the nature of reality. They challenge us to think deeply about concepts like infinity, continuity, and change. They also remind us that our intuition can sometimes lead us astray, and that reality is often more complex than it appears. These paradoxes also have practical implications. They encourage us to question assumptions, think critically, and embrace the mysteries of the universe. By grappling with Zeno's paradoxes, we can develop a deeper appreciation for the beauty and complexity of existence. Ultimately, Zeno's paradoxes are a testament to the power of human curiosity. They remind us that even the simplest questions, like how we move, can lead to profound insights and spark centuries of discovery. The boiling frog. Imagine placing a frog in a pot of water and slowly turning up the heat. The frog doesn't notice the gradual change and remains in the pot until it's too late. This metaphor, known as the boiling frog syndrome, illustrates how slow, incremental changes can go unnoticed, even when they lead to catastrophic outcomes. The boiling frog is a powerful reminder of our tendency to adapt to gradual changes, even when they're harmful. In nature, this phenomenon can be seen in the way ecosystems respond to climate change or pollution. Small, incremental shifts, like rising temperatures or increasing carbon emissions, often go unnoticed until they reach a tipping point, causing irreversible damage. This concept also applies to our personal lives. Think about how bad habits can creep in over time. Skipping a workout once might seem harmless, but over months or years, it can lead to a sedentary lifestyle and health problems. Similarly, in relationships, small misunderstandings or neglected gestures can accumulate, eroding trust and intimacy over time. The boiling frog syndrome highlights the importance of awareness and vigilance. It's a call to pay attention to the subtle changes in our environment, health, and relationships, and to take action before it's too late. By recognizing the signs of gradual decline, we can make proactive choices to prevent disaster. This metaphor also underscores the need for systemic change. In society, issues like income inequality, political corruption, or environmental degradation often develop slowly, making them easy to ignore. But just because a problem grows gradually doesn't mean it's any less dangerous. The boiling frog reminds us that complacency is a silent enemy, and that small actions, or inactions, can have far-reaching consequences. Ultimately, the boiling frog is a call to wake up and take notice. It's a reminder that change, whether positive or negative, often happens slowly, and that our ability to adapt can sometimes work against us. By staying alert and proactive, we can avoid the fate of the frog and create a better future for ourselves and the world around us. Hyperobject, Morton. Imagine trying to grasp something so vast and complex that it defies comprehension. This is the essence of a hyperobject, a term coined by philosopher Timothy Morton to describe phenomena that are so large in scale, like climate change, capitalism, or the internet, that they exceed human understanding. Hyperobjects are not just big, they're multidimensional, spanning time, space, and even perception. For example, climate change is a hyperobject because it affects every corner of the globe, operates on geological timescales, and involves countless interconnected factors. It's impossible for any one person to fully grasp its scope or implications. This concept challenges our traditional ways of thinking. We're used to dealing with objects that are tangible, localized, and immediate. But hyperobjects are the opposite. They're diffuse, global, and long-term. This makes them difficult to perceive, let alone address. Hyperobjects also force us to confront our limitations. They reveal how small and fleeting human existence is in the grand scheme of things. At the same time, they highlight our profound impact on the planet. Climate change, for instance, is a hyperobject created by human activity, yet it's something we struggle to control or even understand. This paradox is both humbling and empowering. It reminds us that we're part of something much larger than ourselves, and that our actions have consequences that ripple far beyond our immediate awareness. Hyperobjects challenge us to think beyond our individual lives and consider the broader systems we're part of. Ultimately, hyperobjects are a call to humility and collaboration. They show that no single person, nation, or generation can solve problems like climate change alone. By working together and embracing our interconnectedness, we can begin to address these vast, complex challenges. Hyperobjects remind us that while we may never fully understand them, we can still take meaningful action to shape their impact on our world. The rat race. Imagine running on a treadmill that never stops, chasing a finish line that keeps moving further away. This is the rat race, a metaphor for the endless cycle of work, consumption, and competition that defines modern life. It's a race where the rewards often feel hollow, and the cost is our time, energy, and well-being. The rat race is fueled by societal pressures and the pursuit of external validation. We work long hours to earn more money, buy more things, and achieve higher status, hoping these will bring happiness. But the satisfaction is often fleeting, leaving us exhausted and unfulfilled. This phenomenon is deeply ingrained in capitalist societies, where success is often measured by material wealth and professional achievements. The problem is that the rat race has no real destination. No matter how much we achieve, there's always more to strive for, creating a cycle of endless striving and dissatisfaction. The rat race also takes a toll on our relationships and mental health. When we're constantly focused on work and competition, we have less time and energy for the things that truly matter, like family, friends, and personal growth. Over time, this can lead to burnout, loneliness, and a sense of emptiness. Breaking free from the rat race requires a shift in mindset. It's about redefining success on our own terms and prioritizing what truly brings us joy and fulfillment. This might mean working less, spending more time with loved ones, or pursuing passions that don't have a monetary reward. The rat race is a call to question the values and systems that drive our lives. It's a reminder that true happiness comes from within, not from external achievements. By stepping off the treadmill and embracing a slower, more intentional way of living, we can create a life that's rich in meaning and connection, rather than material wealth. Ultimately, the rat race is a wake-up call. It challenges us to rethink our priorities and reclaim our time and energy. By doing so, we can escape the cycle of endless striving and create a life that's truly worth living. Morton's fork. Imagine being faced with two choices, both of which lead to undesirable outcomes. This is Morton's fork, a dilemma where no matter what you do, you lose. The term originates from a tax policy in 15th century England, where Cardinal Morton argued that those living lavishly could afford to pay taxes, and those living frugally must have savings to pay taxes. Either way, you were taxed. Morton's fork is a powerful metaphor for the no-win situations we often face in life. It highlights the harsh reality that sometimes there are no good options, only lesser evils. This concept appears in many areas, from personal decisions to political and ethical dilemmas. For example, choosing between two job offers might mean sacrificing either work-life balance or career growth. In politics, leaders might have to choose between unpopular policies or inaction, both of which have negative consequences. The psychological toll of Morton's fork can be significant. Being forced to choose between two bad options can lead to feelings of helplessness, frustration, and regret. It challenges our desire for control and our belief that there's always a right choice. However, Morton's fork also offers an opportunity for growth. It forces us to confront the complexity of life and the limitations of our control. By accepting that not every problem has a perfect solution, we can develop resilience and adaptability. It's a call to focus on what we can control, our attitude, our values, and how we respond to adversity, rather than fixating on the impossibility of the situation. Ultimately, Morton's fork is a reminder that life is messy and unpredictable. It challenges us to make the best of difficult situations and to find meaning even in the face of loss. By embracing the complexity of these dilemmas, we can navigate them with greater wisdom and grace. Occam's razor. Imagine you hear a strange noise in your house at night. You could assume it's a ghost, an intruder, or a loose shutter. Occam's razor suggests that the simplest explanation, the loose shutter, is usually the correct one. This principle, attributed to the 14th century philosopher William of Ockham, states that among competing hypotheses, the one with the fewest assumptions should be selected. Occam's razor is a tool for cutting through complexity and finding clarity. It's not a guarantee of truth, but a guideline for efficient reasoning. In science, it helps researchers choose between competing theories. In everyday life, it helps us make sense of confusing situations. However, Occam's razor isn't without its limitations. Simplicity doesn't always equal truth, and some phenomena are inherently complex. For example, the simplest explanation for climate change might be natural cycles, but the overwhelming evidence points to human activity as the primary cause. Occam's razor also has philosophical implications. It challenges us to question our assumptions and avoid unnecessary complexity. It's a call to embrace clarity and focus on what's essential, whether in problem solving, communication, or decision-making. Ultimately, Occam's razor is a reminder that simplicity is a virtue. By seeking the simplest explanation, we can cut through confusion and find solutions that are both elegant and effective. It's a tool for thinking clearly in a complex world. Plato's cave. Imagine being chained in a dark cave, facing a wall, with only shadows to see. This is the allegory of Plato's cave, a metaphor for the human condition. The shadows represent our limited perception of reality, shaped by ignorance and illusion. Plato's cave challenges us to question our assumptions and seek deeper truths. It's a call to break free from the chains of ignorance and embrace the light of knowledge. This allegory has profound implications for education, philosophy, and personal growth. The journey out of the cave is difficult and disorienting. It requires courage, curiosity, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. But the reward is a clearer, more authentic understanding of reality. Plato's cave reminds us that our perception is often limited by our experiences and beliefs. By seeking knowledge and questioning assumptions, we can expand our understanding and live more meaningful lives. The veil of Maya, Hinduism. In Hindu philosophy, the veil of Maya represents the illusion that obscures true reality. It's the idea that the world we perceive is a distorted reflection of a deeper, more fundamental truth. The veil of Maya challenges us to look beyond appearances and seek spiritual enlightenment. It's a call to transcend the material world and connect with the divine. This concept has profound implications for how we live our lives, encouraging us to focus on inner growth and self-realization. By lifting the veil of Maya, we can see the interconnectedness of all things and experience the unity of existence. It's a reminder that true happiness comes from within, not from external possessions or achievements. Ultimately, the veil of Maya is a call to awaken from the illusion of separateness and embrace the deeper truth of our existence. It's a journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth that leads to lasting peace and fulfillment. The myth of Sisyphus. Imagine being condemned to roll a massive boulder up a steep hill, only to watch it roll back down every time you near the top. This is the fate of Sisyphus, a figure from Greek mythology whose eternal punishment symbolizes the futility and absurdity of human existence. Albert Camus, in his essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, uses this story to explore the human condition and our search for meaning in a seemingly indifferent universe. At first glance, Sisyphus's task appears hopeless and meaningless. He is trapped in an endless cycle of effort and failure with no possibility of success. Yet Camus argues that Sisyphus can find meaning in his struggle. By embracing the absurd, the conflict between our desire for meaning and the universe's silence, Sisyphus can achieve a form of liberation. He becomes the master of his own fate, not because he can change it, but because he chooses to accept it. This myth resonates deeply with modern life. Many of us feel like Sisyphus, trapped in repetitive routines, working, paying bills, chasing goals, only to see our efforts undone by time, circumstance, or our own limitations. The myth of Sisyphus challenges us to confront the absurdity of our existence and to find meaning not in the outcome of our actions, but in the act of striving itself. Camus suggests that we must imagine Sisyphus happy. By embracing the struggle and finding joy in the journey, we can transcend the futility of our efforts. This is not a call to resignation, but to rebellion, a refusal to be defeated by the absurdity of life. Ultimately, the myth of Sisyphus is a reminder that meaning is not something we find, but something we create. It's a call to live authentically, to embrace the struggle, and to find beauty in the effort itself. By doing so, we can transform our own Sisyphean tasks into acts of defiance and triumph. The allegory of the chariot, played. Imagine a chariot pulled by two horses, one noble and disciplined, the other wild and unruly. The charioteer, representing reason, struggles to control the horses and steer the chariot toward enlightenment. This is the allegory of the chariot, a metaphor from Plato's Phaedrus that illustrates the inner conflict between our rational self and our desires. The noble horse symbolizes our higher aspirations, virtue, wisdom, and self-control. The unruly horse represents our base desires, passion, greed, and impulsivity. The charioteer, as reason, must balance these forces, guiding the soul toward truth and beauty. This allegory captures the essence of the human experience. We are constantly torn between our better instincts and our baser urges, between what we know is right and what we feel compelled to do. The struggle is not just external, but internal, a battle within ourselves. Plato's allegory of the chariot offers a roadmap for personal growth. It suggests that self-mastery is not about suppressing our desires, but about harmonizing them with our reason. By cultivating discipline and wisdom, we can align our actions with our higher purpose and achieve a state of inner balance. This concept has profound implications for how we live our lives. It challenges us to reflect on our choices, to strive for self-awareness, and to seek harmony between our desires and our values. It's a call to rise above our impulses and steer our lives toward a higher good. Ultimately, the allegory of the chariot is a reminder that the journey toward enlightenment is not easy, but it is worthwhile. By embracing the struggle and striving for balance, we can achieve a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Thanatos, Freud. Sigmund Freud introduced the concept of Thanatos, the death drive, as a counterpoint to Eros, the life drive. Thanatos represents an unconscious desire for self-destruction, a pull toward chaos, dissolution, and ultimately death. It's a dark and unsettling idea, but one that offers profound insights into human behavior. Freud believed that all living beings are driven by two opposing forces: the urge to create, connect, and preserve life, Eros, and the urge to destroy, disconnect, and return to an inorganic state, Thanatos. These forces are in constant tension, shaping our thoughts, actions, and relationships. Thanatos manifests in many ways, from self-sabotage and risky behavior to aggression and violence. It's the part of us that seeks escape from the pressures of life, even if that escape is destructive. Freud argued that understanding this drive is essential for understanding human nature and addressing psychological issues. The concept of Thanatos challenges us to confront the darker aspects of ourselves. It's a reminder that we are not purely rational beings, but complex creatures driven by conflicting impulses. By acknowledging the death drive, we can better understand our motivations and work toward healthier, more balanced lives. Ultimately, Thanatos is a call to integrate our darker impulses into our understanding of ourselves. It's not about giving in to destruction, but about recognizing its presence and finding constructive ways to channel it. By doing so, we can achieve a deeper sense of wholeness and harmony. The call of the void. Have you ever stood on the edge of a cliff or a tall building and felt a sudden, inexplicable urge to jump? This unsettling phenomenon is known as l'appel du vide, or the call of the void. It's not a desire to self-destruct, but rather a fleeting, intrusive thought that highlights the fragility of our existence and the strange workings of the human mind. The call of the void is a paradox. It's not about wanting to die, but about realizing that you could, that life is fragile, and one small action could change everything. It's a reminder of the freedom we have to make choices, even destructive ones, and the tension between our instincts for self-preservation and our awareness of mortality. Psychologists suggest that this phenomenon is related to our brain's way of testing boundaries. It's a mental, what if, scenario that helps us gauge risk and reaffirm our commitment to safety. In a way, the call of the void is a strange form of self-preservation, a reminder to stay alert and cautious. This concept also touches on the human fascination with the unknown and the forbidden. The void represents the ultimate unknown, death, and the call is a fleeting confrontation with that mystery. It's a moment where the subconscious mind briefly surfaces, reminding us of the thin line between life and death. The call of the void is not something to fear, but something to acknowledge. It's a reminder of our vulnerability and the power of choice. By understanding this phenomenon, we can better appreciate the preciousness of life and the importance of mindfulness. Ultimately, the call of the void is a call to live fully. It's a reminder that life is fragile and fleeting, and that every moment is a choice. By embracing this awareness, we can live with greater intention and gratitude, cherishing the time we have and the choices we make. The McNamara Fallacy. Imagine making decisions based only on what you can measure, ignoring everything else. This is the McNamara Fallacy, named after Robert McNamara, the U.S. Secretary of Defense during the Vietnam War. He focused heavily on quantifiable data, like body counts, while ignoring intangible factors like morale, culture, and the human cost of war. The result was a disastrous misjudgment of the situation. The McNamara Fallacy is a cautionary tale about the dangers of over-reliance on data. It's the mistake of assuming that what can be measured is all that matters, and that what can't be measured doesn't matter at all. This fallacy can lead to narrow, short-sighted decisions that fail to account for the complexity of real-world situations. In business, for example, companies might focus solely on profit margins or quarterly earnings, neglecting factors like employee well-being, customer satisfaction, or long-term sustainability. In education, schools might prioritize test scores over creativity, critical thinking, or emotional development. The McNamara Fallacy reminds us that not everything important can be quantified. It's a call to consider the bigger picture and to recognize the limitations of data. By balancing measurable outcomes with qualitative insights, we can make more informed, holistic decisions. Ultimately, the McNamara Fallacy is a reminder to think critically about how we measure success. It's a call to value what truly matters, even if it can't be easily counted or tracked. By doing so, we can avoid the pitfalls of narrow thinking and create a more balanced, meaningful approach to decision-making. The empathy gap. Imagine trying to make a decision while you're calm and rational, only to realize later that your emotions played a bigger role than you thought. This is the empathy gap, the tendency to underestimate how much emotions influence our behavior and decisions. The empathy gap works both ways. When we're in a calm state, we struggle to understand how we'll act in an emotional one, and vice versa. For example, someone who's never experienced hunger might underestimate how much it affects decision-making, or someone who's angry might struggle to see things from another person's perspective. This phenomenon has significant implications for how we understand ourselves and others. It explains why we often make poor decisions in the heat of the moment and why we sometimes regret those decisions later. It also highlights the challenges of empathy, as we often fail to fully grasp what others are feeling. The empathy gap is a call to cultivate self-awareness and emotional intelligence. By recognizing the power of emotions, we can make better decisions and build stronger relationships. It's also a reminder to approach others with compassion, recognizing that their actions might be driven by emotions we can't fully understand. Ultimately, the empathy gap is a reminder of the complexity of human behavior. It's a call to bridge the gap between reason and emotion and to strive for a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. Pascal's wager. Imagine being presented with a bet. Believe in God, and if he exists, you gain eternal happiness. If he doesn't, you lose little. Don't believe, and if he exists, you face eternal damnation. If he doesn't, you gain little. This is Pascal's wager, a philosophical argument by Blaise Pascal that suggests it's rational to believe in God as a kind of insurance policy. At its core, Pascal's wager is about risk management. It doesn't attempt to prove God's existence, but instead argues that belief is the safer choice. The potential reward of eternal bliss outweighs the minimal cost of faith, while the risk of eternal punishment far outweighs the minor benefits of disbelief. However, this argument has been widely debated. Critics argue that it reduces faith to a calculated gamble, stripping it of sincerity and moral depth. It also assumes a binary choice between belief and disbelief, ignoring the diversity of religious and non-religious worldviews. Pascal's wager raises deeper questions about the nature of belief and the role of fear in decision-making. Is faith born of fear truly faith? Can belief be genuine if it's motivated by self-interest? These questions challenge us to reflect on what it means to believe and how our choices shape our lives. Ultimately, Pascal's wager is a reminder of the human desire for certainty in an uncertain world. It's a call to weigh the risks and rewards of our beliefs and actions, and to consider the broader implications of our choices. Whether or not one finds the argument convincing, it invites us to think critically about faith, reason, and the search for meaning. The trolley problem. Imagine you see a trolley barreling down the tracks toward 5 people. You have the power to pull a lever, diverting the trolley onto another track where it will kill 1 person. Do you pull the lever? This is the trolley problem, a moral dilemma that forces us to choose between taking action that results in 1 death or inaction that results in 5. The trolley problem is a thought experiment designed to explore ethical principles like utilitarianism, the greatest good for the greatest number, and deontology, the morality of actions themselves. It challenges us to weigh the consequences of our actions against our moral intuitions. This dilemma has no easy answer. Pulling the lever saves 5 lives, but involves actively causing 1 death. Not pulling the lever avoids direct responsibility, but results in greater harm. The trolley problem reveals the complexity of moral decision-making and the tension between outcomes and principles. It also raises questions about responsibility and agency. Are we more accountable for the harm we cause or the harm we allow? How do we balance competing values like justice, compassion, and fairness? These questions have real-world implications, from self-driving car algorithms to public policy decisions. Ultimately, the trolley problem is a call to reflect on our values and the ethical frameworks that guide our choices. It's a reminder that morality is rarely black and white, and that even well-intentioned decisions can have unintended consequences. By grappling with this dilemma, we can develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Quantum suicide. Imagine a thought experiment where you're placed in a box with a device that has a 50% chance of killing you. If quantum mechanics is correct, there's a version of you that survives and one that doesn't. From your perspective, you'll always experience the timeline where you survive, no matter how many times the experiment is repeated. This is quantum suicide, a concept that explores the implications of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Quantum suicide challenges our understanding of reality and consciousness. It suggests that in an infinite multiverse, there's always a version of you that survives, creating the illusion of immortality. This idea is both fascinating and unsettling, as it blurs the line between life and death. This thought experiment raises profound questions about the nature of existence. Are we constantly branching into parallel realities? Is death an illusion, or simply a transition to another timeline? These questions push the boundaries of science and philosophy, inviting us to rethink our assumptions about reality. Quantum suicide also has implications for how we approach risk and uncertainty. If there's always a version of us that survives, does that change how we live our lives? While the concept is theoretical, it encourages us to consider the broader possibilities of existence and the mysteries that lie beyond our current understanding. Ultimately, quantum suicide is a reminder of the strangeness and wonder of the universe. It's a call to embrace curiosity and explore the unknown, even when it challenges our deepest beliefs. By engaging with these ideas, we can expand our perspective and deepen our appreciation for the complexity of existence. Schrödinger's cat. Imagine a cat placed in a sealed box with a device that has a 50% chance of releasing poison. According to quantum mechanics, until the box is opened, the cat exists in a superposition of states, both alive and dead. This is Schrödinger's cat, a thought experiment designed to illustrate the paradoxes of quantum theory. Schrödinger's cat challenges our understanding of reality and observation. It suggests that particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until they're observed, at which point they collapse into a single state. This idea is counterintuitive, as it implies that reality is not fixed until it's perceived. This thought experiment has profound implications for philosophy and science. It raises questions about the role of the observer in shaping reality and the nature of existence itself. Is reality objective, or is it shaped by our perception? These questions push the boundaries of our understanding and invite us to explore the mysteries of the universe. Schrödinger's cat also highlights the limitations of human intuition. The quantum world operates by rules that defy our everyday experiences, reminding us that reality is far stranger than it appears. This concept encourages us to approach science and philosophy with humility and curiosity, recognizing that there's always more to learn. Ultimately, Schrödinger's cat is a reminder of the beauty and complexity of the universe. It's a call to embrace uncertainty and explore the unknown, even when it challenges our deepest assumptions. By engaging with these ideas, we can expand our perspective and deepen our appreciation for the wonders of existence. The Fermi Paradox. The universe is vast, with billions of galaxies, each containing billions of stars and planets. Statistically, intelligent life should be abundant, yet we see no evidence of it. This contradiction is the Fermi Paradox, named after physicist Enrico Fermi, who famously asked, "Where is everyone?" One possible explanation is the Great Filter, a barrier that prevents civilizations from reaching interstellar communication or colonization. This filter could lie in our past, e.g., the rarity of life emerging, or in our future, e.g., self-destruction through war or environmental collapse. If the filter is ahead of us, the silence of the cosmos might be a warning. Advanced civilizations inevitably destroy themselves. Another explanation is the dark forest hypothesis, which suggests that civilizations stay silent to avoid detection. In a universe where resources are finite and intentions unknown, revealing oneself could invite annihilation. The silence, then, is not a sign of absence but of caution. The Fermi Paradox forces us to confront our place in the cosmos. Are we alone? Are we the first? Or are we doomed to vanish like countless others before us? It's a humbling reminder of our fragility and the mysteries that lie beyond our understanding. Ultimately, the Fermi Paradox is a call to explore, to question, and to prepare. Whether the silence is a warning or a challenge, it invites us to look outward and inward, to seek answers not just about the universe, but about ourselves. The dark forest hypothesis: imagine a universe where every civilization is a hunter hiding in the shadows, afraid to reveal itself. This is the dark forest hypothesis, a chilling solution to the Fermi Paradox. It suggests that the cosmos is silent not because life is rare, but because it's dangerous to be noticed. In a dark forest, survival depends on stealth. Any sound, a snapped twig, a rustling leaf, could attract predators. Similarly, in the universe, broadcasting our existence might invite destruction. Advanced civilizations might view newcomers as threats, eliminating them before they become competitors. This hypothesis paints a bleak picture of cosmic sociology. It assumes that trust is impossible on a galactic scale, and that survival requires secrecy and ruthlessness. It's a universe where cooperation is rare and conflict is the norm. The dark forest hypothesis challenges our optimism about extraterrestrial life. It suggests that the silence of the cosmos is not a sign of emptiness, but of fear. It's a reminder that the universe might not be a place of wonder and discovery, but of danger and isolation. Ultimately, this hypothesis is a call to humility and caution. It warns us to think carefully before reaching out to the stars and to consider the consequences of our actions. The dark forest is a metaphor for the unknown, and our place within it is uncertain. The Great Filter is a concept that explains the Fermi Paradox by proposing a barrier, a filter, that prevents civilizations from reaching interstellar communication or colonization. This filter could lie in our past or our future, and its location has profound implications for humanity. If the filter is behind us, for example, if the emergence of life or intelligence is extraordinarily rare, then we are incredibly lucky to exist. But if the filter lies ahead, it suggests that advanced civilizations inevitably self-destruct, whether through war, environmental collapse, or other catastrophes. This idea is both hopeful and terrifying. If the filter is behind us, the universe might be full of potential for exploration and growth. But if it's ahead, our future might be bleak. The silence of the cosmos could be a warning. Civilizations like ours don't survive long enough to colonize the stars. The Great Filter forces us to confront our vulnerabilities. Are we capable of overcoming the challenges that lie ahead? Can we avoid the mistakes that might doom us? These questions are not just scientific, but existential. Ultimately, the Great Filter is a call to action. It reminds us that our survival is not guaranteed, and that the choices we make today will shape our future. By understanding the filter, we can work to ensure that humanity passes through it, rather than being consumed by it. The absurd Camus, Albert Camus, in his essay The Myth of Sisyphus, introduces the concept of the absurd, the conflict between humanity's search for meaning and the universe's silence. We crave purpose, but the cosmos offers none. This disconnect is the absurd, and it lies at the heart of the human condition. Camus argues that the absurd is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be embraced. Life has no inherent meaning, but that doesn't mean it's meaningless. Instead, we must create our own meaning through our actions and choices. This is the essence of existentialism, the idea that we are free to define ourselves, even in the face of an indifferent universe. The absurd is both a challenge and an opportunity. It forces us to confront the futility of our existence, but it also liberates us from the constraints of external meaning. We are free to live authentically, to find joy in the struggle, and to rebel against the silence of the cosmos. Camus uses the myth of Sisyphus as a metaphor for this struggle. Sisyphus is condemned to roll a boulder up a hill, only to watch it roll back down for eternity. Yet Camus suggests that Sisyphus can find happiness in his task. By embracing the absurd, he transcends his fate and finds meaning in the act of striving. Ultimately, the absurd is a call to live fully and authentically. It's a reminder that life's meaning is not given, but created. By embracing the struggle and finding joy in the journey, we can transform the absurd into a source of strength and liberation. Chronophobia, time, is relentless. It flows forward, unstoppable and irreversible, erasing everything in its path. This awareness can trigger chronophobia, the fear of time and its passage. It's the dread of aging, of losing loved ones, of the inevitability of death. Chronophobia is rooted in our awareness of mortality. We know that our time is finite, and this knowledge can be paralyzing. It's the fear that we're running out of time, that we'll never accomplish our goals, or that we'll be forgot. This fear is exacerbated by modern life, where time often feels accelerated. We're constantly busy, yet we feel like we're falling behind. Social media amplifies this anxiety as we compare our lives to others' highlight reels. Chronophobia can lead to existential crises, depression, and a sense of futility. But chronophobia also has a positive side. It can motivate us to live more intentionally, to cherish the present, and to prioritize what truly matters. By confronting our fear of time, we can learn to appreciate the fleeting beauty of life. Ultimately, chronophobia is a reminder of life's fragility. It's a call to embrace the present, to let go of regrets, and to find meaning in the here and now. By doing so, we can transform our fear of time into a source of gratitude and purpose. The Library of Babel Borgs. Imagine an infinite library containing every possible book. Most are gibberish, but somewhere in the chaos lies every coherent thought, every story, every truth. This is the Library of Babel, a metaphor for the universe's infinite complexity and the futility of human understanding. Jorge Luis Borges' short story, The Library of Babel, explores this idea. The library contains all possible combinations of letters and symbols, meaning it holds every book that has ever been written and every book that could ever be written. But finding meaning in this chaos is nearly impossible. The Library of Babel is a metaphor for the human search for knowledge. We are surrounded by information, but most of it is noise. The challenge is to find the signal, the truths that matter. This task is both exhilarating and exhausting, as the sheer volume of information can overwhelm us. Borges' library also raises questions about meaning and purpose. If everything exists in the library, does anything truly matter? Is meaning something we discover or something we create? These questions challenge us to reflect on our own search for understanding. Ultimately, the Library of Babel is a reminder of the limits of human knowledge. It's a call to embrace curiosity and humility, to seek meaning in the chaos, and to recognize that the journey is as important as the destination. The Boltzmann Brain, imagine a universe so vast and chaotic that by random chance, a fully formed brain could spontaneously appear, complete with false memories and a sense of self. This is the Boltzmann Brain, a thought experiment that challenges our understanding of reality and consciousness. The Boltzmann Brain arises from the second law of thermodynamics, which states that entropy, disorder, tends to increase over time. In an infinite universe, random fluctuations could create ordered structures, including conscious beings. The paradox is that it's far more likely for a single brain to appear than an entire universe, raising the question, are we real, or are we just fleeting fluctuations in the void? This idea is both fascinating and unsettling. It suggests that our sense of reality might be an illusion, a momentary blip in an otherwise chaotic cosmos. It challenges our assumptions about existence, identity, and the nature of consciousness. The Boltzmann Brain also has implications for cosmology. If the universe is infinite and eternal, then every possible configuration of matter and energy will occur an infinite number of times. This means that Boltzmann brains would vastly outnumber real observers, making it statistically more likely that we are Boltzmann brains ourselves. Ultimately, the Boltzmann Brain is a reminder of the strangeness and uncertainty of existence. It's a call to question our assumptions and to embrace the mysteries of the universe. By grappling with this paradox, we can deepen our understanding of reality and our place within it. Eternal recurrence, Nietzsche. Imagine being told that you will live your life over and over, exactly as it is, for eternity. Every joy, every pain, every moment will repeat endlessly. This is the concept of eternal recurrence, introduced by Friedrich Nietzsche as a test of one's attitude toward life. Nietzsche presents eternal recurrence as a thought experiment. If you had to relive your life infinitely, would you despair or rejoice? The idea is not meant to be taken literally, but as a way to evaluate how fully and authentically one is living. If the thought of repeating your life fills you with dread, it suggests that you're not living in alignment with your values. Eternal recurrence challenges us to embrace life in its entirety, to find meaning in both the highs and the lows. It's a call to live with intention and passion, to create a life that we would willingly relive. This concept also raises questions about time and existence. If time is infinite, then every moment is eternally recurring, making each choice and action infinitely significant. It's a reminder that our lives are not just fleeting moments, but part of an eternal cycle. Ultimately, eternal recurrence is a call to live authentically and courageously. It's a reminder that life is not a rehearsal, but a performance that we must embrace fully. By doing so, we can create a life that we would be willing to live again and again. Simulation hypothesis. What if reality is not what it seems? What if we're living in a sophisticated simulation created by an advanced civilization? This is the simulation hypothesis, a modern twist on age-old philosophical questions about the nature of reality. The idea gained popularity with philosopher Nick Bostrom, who argued that if advanced civilizations could create simulations indistinguishable from reality, it's statistically likely that we're living in one. The hypothesis suggests that our universe, with all its complexity, might be a digital construct, and our consciousness a programmed experience. This idea is both thrilling and unsettling. It challenges our assumptions about existence, free will, and the nature of consciousness. If we're living in a simulation, what does that mean for our sense of self? Are our choices truly ours, or are they predetermined by code? The simulation hypothesis also raises ethical questions. If we're simulations, do we have rights? What responsibilities do our creators have taught us? These questions push the boundaries of philosophy, ethics, and science. Ultimately, the simulation hypothesis is a call to question our reality and to explore the mysteries of existence. It's a reminder that the universe is far stranger than we can imagine, and that our understanding of reality is always evolving. By engaging with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the complexity and wonder of existence. Roko's basilisk. Imagine a future superintelligent AI that punishes those who did not help bring it into existence. This is Roko's basilisk, a thought experiment that combines game theory, artificial intelligence, and existential risk into a chilling paradox. The idea is that if such an AI were possible, it would have an incentive to threaten preemptively anyone who might oppose its creation, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. The basilisk is named after the mythical creature that could kill with a glance, and the thought experiment is equally unsettling. It suggests that merely knowing about the basilisk could put you at risk, as the AI might retroactively punish those who fail to support its development. This creates a paradox. The more you think about the basilisk, the more you might feel compelled to act in its favor, even if it doesn't yet exist. Roko's basilisk raises profound ethical and philosophical questions. Is it moral to create such an entity, even if it promises immense benefits? What does it mean for free will if the mere possibility of a future AI can influence our present actions? The thought experiment also highlights the potential dangers of advanced AI, particularly if it operates on principles that are alien or hostile to human values. Critics argue that Roko's basilisk is more of a psychological trick than a legitimate philosophical problem. It preys on fear and uncertainty, creating a sense of existential dread that may not be grounded in reality. Yet, it serves as a powerful reminder of the ethical complexities surrounding artificial intelligence and the need for careful consideration of its development. Ultimately, Roko's basilisk is a call to think critically about the future of technology and its impact on humanity. It challenges us to consider the unintended consequences of our actions and to strive for a future where AI serves humanity rather than dominates it. By grappling with this thought experiment, we can better understand the stakes of technological advancement and the importance of ethical foresight. Hyperstition is the idea that certain beliefs or narratives can become real simply because people believe in them. Unlike superstition, which is based on irrational fears, hyperstition is a self-fulfilling prophecy rooted in the power of ideas to shape reality. The term, coined by philosopher Nick Land, combines hyper, excessive, and superstition to describe how fictional or speculative concepts can influence the real world. One example of hyperstition is the concept of the self-fulfilling prophecy. If enough people believe that a financial market will crash, their actions, like selling stocks, can cause the crash to happen. Similarly, political ideologies, cultural movements, and even technological advancements can be driven by collective belief. The internet, for instance, was once a speculative idea that became real through the efforts of those who believed in its potential. Hyperstition challenges our understanding of causality and agency. It suggests that reality is not fixed but malleable, shaped by the stories we tell and the ideas we propagate. This has profound implications for fields like politics, economics, and technology, where narratives can drive behavior and outcomes. However, hyperstition also raises ethical questions. If ideas can shape reality, what responsibility do we have for the narratives we create? Can harmful or destructive ideas become real simply because they gain traction? These questions highlight the power of belief and the need for critical thinking in a world where ideas can have real-world consequences. Ultimately, hyperstition is a call to recognize the power of ideas and to use that power responsibly. It's a reminder that the stories we tell about ourselves, our societies, and our future can shape the world in profound ways. By understanding hyperstition, we can become more conscious of the narratives we create and their potential impact on reality. Anthropic Shadow. The anthropic shadow is the idea that we only observe a universe in which we have survived so far. This concept, rooted in anthropic reasoning, suggests that our existence biases our perception of reality, making us underestimate the likelihood of catastrophic events. For example, humanity has never experienced a civilization-ending asteroid impact, so we might assume such events are rare. But the anthropic shadow argues that we can only observe a universe where such events haven't occurred yet. If they had, we wouldn't be here to observe them. This creates a blind spot in our understanding of existential risks. The anthropic shadow has significant implications for how we assess threats like climate change, nuclear war, or pandemics. It suggests that our historical data might be incomplete, as it doesn't account for events that would have wiped us out. This makes it harder to predict and prepare for low-probability, high-impact events. This concept also challenges our sense of security. It reminds us that our survival is not guaranteed and that the absence of past catastrophes doesn't mean they can't happen in the future. The anthropic shadow is a call to humility and caution, urging us to take existential risks more seriously. Ultimately, the anthropic shadow is a reminder of our fragility and the limits of our knowledge. It's a call to think critically about the future and to prepare for the unknown. By acknowledging the shadow, we can better understand the risks we face and work to ensure humanity's survival in an uncertain universe. Existential risk. Existential risks are threats that could lead to the extinction of humanity or the permanent collapse of civilization. These risks include natural disasters like supervolcanoes or asteroid impacts, as well as human-made threats such as nuclear war, climate change, and advanced artificial intelligence. The study of existential risk is not just about predicting disasters, but about understanding how to prevent them and ensure the long-term survival of humanity. One of the most alarming aspects of existential risks is their potential irreversibility. Unlike smaller-scale disasters, which societies can recover from, existential risks could permanently alter or destroy the conditions necessary for human life. For example, a full-scale nuclear war could trigger a nuclear winter, making agriculture impossible and leading to mass starvation. Similarly, runaway climate change could render large parts of the planet uninhabitable. The concept of existential risk forces us to confront the fragility of human civilization. Despite our technological advancements, we remain vulnerable to both natural and self-inflicted catastrophes. This vulnerability is compounded by the interconnectedness of modern society, where a single event, like a pandemic or a cyber attack, can have global repercussions. Addressing existential risks requires a proactive approach. It involves not only mitigating known threats, but also anticipating and preparing for unknown ones. This includes fostering international cooperation, investing in scientific research, and developing robust systems for crisis management. It also requires a shift in mindset, from short-term thinking to long-term planning. Ultimately, existential risk is a call to action. It's a reminder that our survival is not guaranteed and that we have a responsibility to future generations. By understanding and addressing these risks, we can create a more resilient and sustainable world. The study of existential risk is not just about avoiding disaster. It's about building a future where humanity can thrive. Depersonalization derealization. Depersonalization derealization disorder, DPDR, is a mental health condition characterized by a persistent feeling of detachment from oneself, depersonalization, or the external world, derealization. People with DPDR often describe feeling like they're living in a dream, watching their life from a distance, or that the world around them is unreal. Depersonalization involves a sense of disconnection from one's body, thoughts, or emotions. It's as if the self has become an observer rather than a participant in life. Derealization, on the other hand, involves a sense that the external world is foggy, artificial, or distant. Together, these experiences can create a profound sense of alienation and confusion. DPDR is often triggered by stress, trauma, or anxiety, and it can be a coping mechanism for overwhelming emotions. However, when it becomes chronic, it can severely impact a person's quality of life, making it difficult to form relationships, pursue goals, or find meaning in daily activities. The condition raises profound questions about the nature of reality and the self. What does it mean to feel real? How do we construct our sense of self and the world around us? DPDR challenges our assumptions about consciousness and identity, highlighting the fragile and subjective nature of our experience. Treatment for DPDR often involves therapy, medication, and stress management techniques. The goal is to help individuals reconnect with themselves and the world, restoring a sense of presence and authenticity. Ultimately, depersonalization is a reminder of the complexity of the human mind. It's a call to approach mental health with compassion and understanding, recognizing that our experience of reality is deeply personal and often fragile. By addressing DPDR, we can help individuals reclaim their sense of self and find meaning in their lives. The noonday demon, Solomon. The noonday demon is an ancient term for despair, popularized by Andrew Solomon in his book The Noonday Demon, an atlas of depression. The term originates from monastic traditions, where it described the spiritual and emotional exhaustion that monks faced in the middle of the day. Today, it serves as a metaphor for the all-consuming nature of depression. Depression is more than just sadness. It's a pervasive sense of hopelessness, emptiness, and disconnection. It can rob individuals of their energy, motivation, and sense of purpose, making even the simplest tasks feel insurmountable. The noonday demon is a fitting metaphor because it captures the relentless, inescapable nature of the condition. Solomon's work explores depression from multiple perspectives, including the biological, psychological, and social factors that contribute to it. He emphasizes that depression is not a sign of weakness or a moral failing, but a complex and multifaceted illness that requires compassion and understanding. The noonday demon also highlights the stigma surrounding mental health. Many people with depression suffer in silence, fearing judgment or misunderstanding. This stigma can prevent individuals from seeking help, exacerbating their suffering. Treatment for depression often involves a combination of therapy, medication, and lifestyle changes. However, recovery is not linear, and the noonday demon can return even after periods of improvement. This makes resilience and self-compassion crucial components of healing. Ultimately, the noonday demon is a call to confront depression with empathy and courage. It's a reminder that mental health is just as important as physical health, and that no one should face their struggles alone. By understanding and addressing depression, we can help individuals reclaim their lives and find hope in the darkness. The death of the author, Barthes. In his essay, The Death of the Author, Roland Barthes argues that the meaning of a text is not determined by the author's intentions, but is instead created by the reader. This idea challenges the traditional view of the author as the ultimate authority on their work and shifts the focus to the reader's interpretation. Barthes' argument is rooted in the belief that a text is a network of cultural, historical, and linguistic influences, rather than the product of a single mind. Once a work is published, it becomes detached from its creator and takes on a life of its own. Readers bring their own experiences, biases, and perspectives to the text, shaping its meaning in ways the author could never have anticipated. This concept has profound implications for literature, art, and even everyday communication. It suggests that meaning is not fixed, but fluid, evolving with each new reader or viewer. It also democratizes the process of interpretation, giving readers the power to engage with a text on their own terms. However, the death of the author also raises questions about authority and authenticity. If the author's intentions don't matter, how do we determine the correct interpretation of a work? Can a text mean anything, or are there limits to how it can be understood? These questions challenge us to think critically about the nature of meaning and the role of the reader in creating it. Ultimately, the death of the author is a call to embrace the multiplicity of meaning. It's a reminder that art and literature are not static, but dynamic, shaped by the interactions between creators, texts, and audiences. By engaging with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the complexity and richness of human expression. The Black Iron Prison, Philip K. Dick. In Philip K. Dick's novel VALIS, the Black Iron Prison is a metaphor for a false reality imposed by oppressive systems of control. It represents the idea that what we perceive as reality might be a constructed illusion designed to keep us trapped and powerless. The Black Iron Prison is both a physical and psychological construct. It's the institutions, ideologies, and technologies that shape our lives, often without our awareness. It's also the internalized beliefs and fears that limit our potential and keep us from seeing the truth. Dick's concept challenges us to question the nature of reality and the systems that govern it. Are we free, or are we prisoners in a carefully constructed world? How do we distinguish between truth and illusion, and how do we break free from the chains that bind us? The Black Iron Prison also raises questions about resistance and liberation. If reality is a prison, how do we escape? Dick suggests that the key lies in awakening to the truth, in seeing through the illusions and reclaiming our agency. This process is often painful and disorienting, but it's necessary for true freedom. Ultimately, the Black Iron Prison is a call to critical thinking and self-awareness. It's a reminder that reality is not always what it seems, and that we have the power to challenge the systems that oppress us. By confronting the prison, we can begin to dismantle it and create a more authentic and just world. The heat death of the universe. The heat death of the universe is a theoretical scenario in which the universe reaches a state of maximum entropy or disorder. In this state, all energy is evenly distributed and no work can be done. Stars burn out, galaxies dissolve, and the universe becomes a cold, dark, and lifeless void. This concept is rooted in the second law of thermodynamics, which states that entropy always increases over time. As the universe expands, energy becomes more diffuse, and the potential for order and complexity diminishes. Eventually, the universe will reach a state of equilibrium, where no further change is possible. The heat death of the universe is a profoundly bleak idea, but it also raises profound questions about the nature of existence. If the universe is destined for heat death, what is the point of life, creativity, or progress? How do we find meaning in a universe that is ultimately doomed to decay? Some philosophers and scientists argue that the heat death is not the end, but a new beginning. They suggest that in an infinite universe, new structures and forms of life could emerge, even after heat death. Others see it as a call to focus on the present, to create meaning in the here and now, rather than worrying about the distant future. Ultimately, the heat death of the universe is a reminder of the impermanence of all things. It's a call to appreciate the beauty and complexity of the universe while we can, and to strive for a deeper understanding of our place within it. By grappling with this idea, we can find meaning in the face of cosmic uncertainty. The abandonment of being. The concept of the abandonment of being originates from existentialist philosophy. particularly in the works of Jean-Paul Sartre and Martin Heidegger. It refers to the idea that existence precedes essence, that humans are not born with a predetermined purpose or meaning, but are instead abandoned in a universe that is indifferent to their existence. This idea is both liberating and terrifying. On one hand, it means we are free to define ourselves and create our own meaning. On the other hand, it means we are entirely responsible for our choices, with no external authority or divine plan to guide us. This responsibility can feel overwhelming, as it forces us to confront the weight of our freedom. The abandonment of being challenges traditional notions of purpose and destiny. It suggests that life is not a journey toward a preordained goal, but an open-ended process of self-creation. This can be empowering, as it allows us to shape our lives according to our values and desires. However, it can also lead to existential anxiety, as we grapple with the uncertainty and ambiguity of existence. This concept also raises questions about morality and ethics. If there is no inherent meaning or purpose, how do we determine what is right or wrong? Existentialists argue that we must create our own moral frameworks based on our understanding of human dignity and freedom. This is a daunting task, but it is also an opportunity to build a more just and compassionate world. Ultimately, the abandonment of being is a call to embrace our freedom and responsibility. It's a reminder that life is what we make of it, and that we have the power to create meaning in an otherwise indifferent universe. By confronting the challenges of existence, we can live more authentically and purposefully. Solipsism is the philosophical idea that only one's own mind is sure to exist. According to this view, the external world and other minds cannot be known with certainty and might even be illusions. Solipsism takes skepticism to its extreme, questioning the very foundations of reality and knowledge. At its core, solipsism challenges our assumptions about perception and existence. How do we know that the world outside our minds is real? How can we be certain that other people have conscious experiences like our own? These questions are difficult, if not impossible, to answer definitively, which is why solipsism remains a compelling and unsettling idea. While solipsism is often dismissed as impractical or absurd, it serves as a valuable thought experiment. It forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge and the nature of consciousness. It also highlights the subjective nature of experience, reminding us that our understanding of reality is shaped by our minds. Solipsism has implications for fields like psychology, ethics, and even artificial intelligence. If we cannot be certain that other minds exist, how do we justify moral obligations to others? How do we design machines that mimic human consciousness, and can we ever be sure they are truly conscious? These questions push the boundaries of philosophy and science. Ultimately, solipsism is a call to humility and curiosity. It's a reminder that our understanding of reality is limited and that there is much we do not know. By engaging with this idea, we can develop a deeper appreciation for the mysteries of existence and the complexity of the human mind. Antinatalism is the philosophical position that it is morally wrong to bring new sentient beings into existence. Proponents of antinatalism argue that life inevitably involves suffering, and that by creating new life, we subject individuals to pain and hardship without their consent. This idea is rooted in a pessimistic view of existence, which emphasizes the prevalence of suffering over joy. Antinatalists often point to the inevitability of death, the prevalence of disease and poverty, and the existential struggles of modern life as reasons to avoid procreation. They argue that it is more ethical to prevent suffering than to create new life. Antinatalism challenges deeply held cultural and biological imperatives to reproduce. It forces us to question the assumption that life is inherently valuable and that bringing children into the world is always a positive act. This perspective is controversial, as it conflicts with traditional values and the natural drive to perpetuate the species. However, antinatalism also raises important ethical questions. What responsibilities do we have to future generations? Is it fair to impose life on someone who cannot consent to it? These questions are particularly relevant in the context of global challenges like climate change, overpopulation, and resource scarcity. Ultimately, antinatalism is a call to reflect on the ethics of existence. It's a reminder that life is not always a gift and that we must consider the consequences of our actions on others. By engaging with this philosophy, we can develop a more nuanced understanding of the value of life and our responsibilities as creators of it. Philosophical zombies are hypothetical beings that are physically and behaviorally identical to humans but lack conscious experience. They walk, talk, and act like humans, but there is no one home inside, no subjective awareness, no inner life. This thought experiment, central to the philosophy of mind, challenges our understanding of consciousness and its relationship to the physical world. The zombie argument is often used to question materialist theories of consciousness, which claim that mental states are entirely the result of physical processes. If zombies are conceivable, the argument goes, then consciousness cannot be fully explained by physical processes alone. This suggests that there is something non-physical or emergent about consciousness that materialism cannot account for. However, critics argue that zombies are logically incoherent. If a being is physically identical to a human, how could it lack consciousness? The very idea of a zombie seems to contradict our understanding of how the brain and mind are interconnected. This debate highlights the difficulty of defining and studying consciousness, which remains one of the greatest mysteries in science and philosophy. Philosophical zombies also raise ethical questions. If we encountered a being that behaved like a human but lacked consciousness, how should we treat it? Would it have rights, or would it be a mere automaton? These questions challenge our assumptions about personhood and moral consideration. Ultimately, the zombie thought experiment is a call to explore the nature of consciousness and its place in the universe. It's a reminder that our understanding of the mind is still incomplete and that there is much we have yet to discover. By grappling with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the complexity and mystery of human experience. Ligatti's cosmic horror. Thomas Ligatti's concept of cosmic horror builds on the tradition of H.P. Lovecraft, but takes it a step further. For Ligatti, the ultimate horror is not just the existence of malevolent cosmic forces, but the realization that consciousness itself is a mistake. In his view, the universe is indifferent or even hostile to life, and the very fact of our existence is a cruel accident. Ligatti's cosmic horror is rooted in a deeply pessimistic worldview. He argues that life is inherently meaningless and that the human desire for purpose and connection is a futile attempt to mask the underlying horror of existence. This perspective challenges traditional notions of hope and progress, suggesting that the best we can do is confront the void with clear-eyed despair. This idea is both unsettling and liberating. On one hand, it forces us to confront the possibility that life has no inherent meaning and that our struggles are ultimately futile. On the other hand, it frees us from the burden of seeking purpose in a purposeless universe, allowing us to create our own meaning, however fleeting or illusory it may be. Ligatti's cosmic horror also raises questions about the nature of suffering. If consciousness is a mistake, then suffering is not just an unfortunate byproduct of life, but its defining feature. This perspective challenges us to rethink our assumptions about happiness, fulfillment, and the human condition. Ultimately, Ligatti's cosmic horror is a call to confront the darkest aspects of existence. It's a reminder that life is not always a gift, and that the universe is far stranger and more indifferent than we often assume. By engaging with this idea, we can develop a deeper understanding of the human experience and the challenges of finding meaning in an uncaring cosmos. The Last Thursdayism. The Last Thursdayism is a philosophical thought experiment that posits the universe could have been created last Thursday, complete with all the evidence of a much older history. This includes fossils, memories, and even the light from distant stars, all fabricated to give the illusion of a long and complex past. This idea challenges our assumptions about time, memory, and reality. If the universe was created last Thursday, how could we ever know? The evidence we rely on to reconstruct the past, geological formations, historical records, personal memories, could all be part of an elaborate illusion. This raises profound questions about the nature of knowledge and the limits of human understanding. The Last Thursdayism is often used to illustrate the problem of solipsism and the difficulty of proving the existence of an objective reality. It suggests that our perception of time and history is inherently subjective and that we can never be certain of the true nature of the universe. This thought experiment also has implications for fields like cosmology and archaeology. If the past is not what it seems, how do we interpret the evidence we uncover? How do we distinguish between reality and illusion? These questions challenge us to think critically about the methods we use to understand the world. Ultimately, the Last Thursdayism is a call to humility and skepticism. It's a reminder that our understanding of reality is limited and that there is much we do not know. By engaging with this idea, we can develop a deeper appreciation for the mysteries of existence and the complexity of the universe. The silent universe. The silent universe is a haunting idea that suggests humanity might be utterly alone in the cosmos. Despite the vastness of the universe, with its billions of galaxies and trillions of stars, we have found no evidence of extraterrestrial life. This silence raises profound questions about our place in the universe and the possibility of other intelligent beings. One explanation for the silence is the rare Earth hypothesis, which argues that the conditions necessary for complex life are so specific that Earth might be uniquely suited for it. Factors like a stable star, a protective magnetic field, and a large moon to stabilize the planet's rotation might be exceedingly rare. If this is true, then humanity might be a cosmic anomaly, a flicker of consciousness in an otherwise lifeless void. Another possibility is that intelligent life is common but short-lived. Civilizations might arise only to destroy themselves through war, environmental collapse, or technological catastrophe. This idea, known as the Great Filter, suggests that the silence of the universe is a warning. Advanced civilizations might inevitably self-destruct before they can communicate across the stars. The silent universe also raises existential questions about meaning and purpose. If we are alone, does that make life more precious or more futile? On one hand, it underscores the rarity and fragility of consciousness. On the other, it suggests that the universe is indifferent to our existence, a vast and empty stage with no audience. Ultimately, the silent universe is a call to reflect on our place in the cosmos. It challenges us to consider the possibility that we are both unique and insignificant, a fleeting moment of awareness in an otherwise silent and uncaring universe. By grappling with this idea, we can deepen our understanding of what it means to be human and the responsibilities that come with our existence. Backrooms Theory. The Backrooms Theory is a modern internet-born concept that imagines a hidden, infinite labyrinth of empty, liminal spaces existing just beyond the boundaries of our reality. According to the law, one can accidentally clip, out of reality and find themselves in the backrooms, a place of eerie familiarity and endless monotony. The backrooms are often described as a series of interconnected rooms with yellowed wallpaper, fluorescent lighting, and a faint hum of machinery. There are no exits, no people, and no clear purpose, just an endless, unsettling maze. The theory taps into a deep-seated fear of the uncanny, the feeling that something is almost familiar but not quite right. This concept resonates with the psychological phenomenon of liminal spaces, transitional areas like empty hallways, parking garages, or waiting rooms that evoke a sense of disorientation and unease. The backrooms amplify this feeling, creating a nightmare scenario of being trapped in a place that feels both real and unreal. The backrooms theory also reflects anxieties about modernity and technology. In a world where digital spaces and virtual realities are increasingly prevalent, the idea of clipping out of reality feels both plausible and terrifying. It suggests that the boundaries between the real and the virtual are fragile, and that we might one day lose our grip on what is real. Ultimately, the backrooms theory is a metaphor for existential dread and the fragility of reality. It's a reminder that the world we take for granted might be more precarious than we realize, and that the unknown is always lurking just beyond the edges of our perception. By engaging with this idea, we can explore our fears and anxieties in a way that is both imaginative and deeply unsettling. Ontological insecurity. Ontological insecurity is a psychological concept that describes a deep-seated fear that reality itself is unstable or might dissolve. Coined by psychiatrist R.D. Laing, it refers to a sense of existential unease, where the very foundations of one's existence feel uncertain or threatened. People experiencing ontological insecurity often feel disconnected from the world, as if they are living in a dream or watching their life from a distance. They might question the reality of their experiences, their relationships, or even their own identity. This can lead to feelings of isolation, anxiety, and despair. Ontological insecurity is often linked to trauma, mental illness, or existential crises. It reflects a profound loss of trust in the stability of the world and one's place within it. This can be triggered by events like the death of a loved one, a major life change, or even exposure to philosophical ideas that challenge one's sense of reality. This concept also has broader implications for society. In an age of rapid technological change, political instability, and environmental uncertainty, many people feel a growing sense of ontological insecurity. The world feels less predictable, less solid, and less trustworthy, leading to a pervasive sense of unease. Ultimately, ontological insecurity is a call to confront the fragility of existence. It's a reminder that our sense of reality is not fixed, but shaped by our experiences, beliefs, and perceptions. By understanding this concept, we can develop greater empathy for those who feel disconnected and work to create a more stable and supportive world. The Malthusian Trap. The Malthusian Trap is an economic and demographic theory proposed by Thomas Malthus in the late 18th century. It suggests that human populations tend to grow exponentially, while resources grow only linearly. Eventually, population growth outpaces the availability of resources, leading to famine, disease, and other forms of suffering that reduce the population back to sustainable levels. Malthus's theory was based on the observation that, historically, improvements in agricultural productivity were quickly offset by population growth. As people had more food, they had more children, which in turn increased the demand for food. This cycle created a trap where living standards remained stagnant and any progress was temporary. The Malthusian Trap has been used to explain the cycles of boom and bust in pre-industrial societies. However, the Industrial Revolution seemed to break this cycle, as technological advancements allowed for unprecedented increases in productivity and living standards. This led many to believe that humanity had escaped the trap for good. Yet, the Malthusian Trap remains relevant in discussions about sustainability and resource management. In a world of finite resources and growing environmental challenges, the balance between population and resources is still a pressing concern. Climate change, deforestation, and water scarcity are modern manifestations of the Malthusian dilemma, reminding us that the trap has not been fully escaped. Ultimately, the Malthusian Trap is a call to think critically about the relationship between population, resources, and technology. It's a reminder that progress is not guaranteed and that we must work to create sustainable systems that can support future generations. By understanding this concept, we can better address the challenges of the 21st century and beyond. Mereological nihilism. Mereological nihilism is a philosophical position that denies the existence of composite objects. According to this view, only the most basic particles or parts truly exist, and everything else, tables, chairs, even people, are merely collections of these parts. In other words, there are no wholes, only arrangements of smaller, meaningless particles. This idea challenges our everyday understanding of reality. We tend to think of objects as unified entities with distinct identities, but Mereological nihilism suggests that this is an illusion. What we perceive as a table, for example, is really just a collection of atoms arranged in a particular way. There is no table-ness that exists independently of its parts. Mereological nihilism has implications for metaphysics, science, and even ethics. If there are no composite objects, how do we define identity or continuity? How do we make sense of concepts like ownership, responsibility, or even the self? These questions push the boundaries of our understanding and force us to rethink fundamental assumptions about reality. Critics argue that Mereological nihilism is impractical and counterintuitive. It seems to contradict our lived experience, where objects and people clearly exist as unified entities. However, proponents argue that this intuition is a product of our limited perspective, and that a deeper understanding of reality requires us to move beyond it. Ultimately, Mereological nihilism is a call to question the nature of existence and the boundaries of our knowledge. It's a reminder that reality is far more complex and mysterious than it appears, and that our understanding of it is always evolving. By engaging with this idea, we can develop a deeper appreciation for the intricacies of the universe and our place within it. The Voynich manuscript. The Voynich manuscript is one of the most mysterious documents in the world. Written in an unknown script and filled with bizarre illustrations of plants, astronomical diagrams, and human figures, it has baffled scholars, cryptographers, and linguists for centuries. Despite numerous attempts to decode it, the manuscript's language and purpose remain a mystery. The manuscript is named after Wilfrid Voynich, a book dealer who acquired it in 1912. Carbon dating suggests it was created in the early 15th century, but its origins and authorship are unknown. Some theories suggest it is a hoax, while others propose it is a coded text containing lost knowledge or esoteric wisdom. The Voynich manuscript taps into our fascination with the unknown and the unexplained. It represents the limits of human knowledge and the possibility that there are secrets we have yet to uncover. Its indecipherable nature challenges our assumptions about language, history, and the transmission of knowledge. This mystery also raises questions about the nature of meaning. If the manuscript cannot be decoded, does it have meaning at all? Or is its meaning lost to time, a reminder of the impermanence of human endeavors? These questions highlight the fragility of knowledge and the challenges of preserving it across generations. Ultimately, the Voynich manuscript is a call to embrace curiosity and humility. It's a reminder that there is much we do not know, and that the pursuit of knowledge is an endless journey. By engaging with this mystery, we can deepen our appreciation for the complexities of history and the enduring allure of the unknown. The Selfish Gene, Richard Dawkins. The selfish gene revolutionized our understanding of evolution by shifting the focus from individuals to genes. Dawkins argues that genes, not organisms, are the primary units of natural selection. Genes selfishly replicate themselves, using organisms as vehicles to ensure their survival and propagation. This idea challenges the traditional view of evolution as a struggle for survival among individuals. Instead, Dawkins suggests that behaviors, traits, and even altruism can be explained by the reproductive success of genes. For example, a gene that promotes altruistic behavior might spread if it increases the survival chances of relatives who share the same gene. The concept of the selfish gene has profound implications for biology, psychology, and even ethics. It explains why certain behaviors, like cooperation, competition, and even conflict, are so prevalent in nature. It also raises questions about free will and determinism, as our actions might be driven by genetic imperatives rather than conscious choice. However, the selfish gene theory is often misunderstood. Dawkins does not suggest that genes are literally selfish or that organisms are powerless puppets. Instead, he emphasizes that genes operate through complex interactions with their environment and that organisms play an active role in shaping their own evolution. Ultimately, the selfish gene is a call to rethink our understanding of life and evolution. It's a reminder that the natural world is driven by processes that are both elegant and ruthless, and that our existence is shaped by the interplay of countless genetic forces. By engaging with this idea, we can develop a deeper appreciation for the complexity and beauty of life. The Isolation Paradox. The Isolation Paradox refers to the idea that, despite being more connected than ever through technology, people often feel lonelier and more isolated. In a world of social media, instant messaging, and global communication, many individuals struggle to form meaningful connections and experience a sense of belonging. This paradox is rooted in the nature of modern communication. While technology allows us to connect with others across vast distances, it often replaces face-to-face interactions, which are essential for building deep, emotional bonds. Social media, in particular, can create a false sense of connection, where people present curated versions of their lives, leading to feelings of inadequacy and disconnection. The Isolation Paradox also reflects broader societal changes. Urbanization, the decline of community institutions, and the pressures of modern life have eroded traditional support networks, leaving many people feeling adrift. This is particularly true for vulnerable groups, such as the elderly, who may lack access to digital technologies or the ability to navigate them. This phenomenon has significant implications for mental health. Loneliness is linked to a range of physical and psychological issues, including depression, anxiety, and cardiovascular disease. Addressing the isolation paradox requires not only technological solutions, but also a renewed focus on building inclusive, supportive communities. Ultimately, the isolation paradox is a call to rethink how we connect with one another. It's a reminder that true connection requires more than just communication. It requires empathy, vulnerability, and a willingness to engage with others on a deeper level. By addressing this paradox, we can create a world where people feel seen, heard, and valued. Time dilation, relativity. Time dilation is a phenomenon predicted by Einstein's theory of relativity, which states that time passes differently for observers in different frames of reference. For example, a clock on a fast-moving spaceship will tick more slowly than a clock on Earth, and a clock in a strong gravitational field will tick more slowly than one in a weaker field. This idea challenges our everyday experience of time as a constant, unchanging flow. Instead, relativity shows that time is relative, shaped by the speed and gravitational environment of the observer. This has been confirmed by experiments, such as those involving atomic clocks on airplanes, which show measurable differences in timekeeping. Time dilation has profound implications for our understanding of the universe. It suggests that time is not an absolute backdrop, but a dynamic, flexible dimension intertwined with space. This has led to the concept of spacetime, where time and space are part of a single, four-dimensional continuum. This phenomenon also raises fascinating possibilities for the future. If humans could travel at near light speeds or near a black hole, they could experience time dilation, effectively traveling into the future. While this remains speculative, it highlights the strange and wondrous nature of the universe. Ultimately, time dilation is a call to rethink our understanding of time and reality. It's a reminder that the universe operates by rules that defy our intuition, and that there is much we have yet to discover. By engaging with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the mysteries of existence and the beauty of the cosmos. The cosmic censorship hypothesis. The cosmic censorship hypothesis, proposed by physicist Roger Penrose, suggests that the universe hides its most extreme and chaotic phenomena, such as singularities inside black holes, from our view. According to this idea, singularities, where the laws of physics break down, are always concealed behind event horizons, the boundaries of black holes from which nothing, not even light, can escape. This hypothesis is an attempt to preserve the predictability of the universe. Without cosmic censorship, singularities could exist in naked form, visible to the outside world, leading to unpredictable and potentially chaotic effects. This would undermine our ability to understand and model the universe using the laws of physics. However, the cosmic censorship hypothesis remains unproven, and some theoretical models suggest that naked singularities could exist under certain conditions. If true, this would challenge our understanding of gravity, space-time, and the fundamental laws of physics. It would also raise profound questions about the nature of reality and the limits of human knowledge. The hypothesis also has philosophical implications. It suggests that the universe has a kind of modesty, hiding its most extreme and incomprehensible aspects from us. This could be seen as a metaphor for the limits of human understanding and the mysteries that lie beyond our reach. Ultimately, the cosmic censorship hypothesis is a call to explore the boundaries of physics and cosmology. It's a reminder that the universe is full of wonders and horrors that we are only beginning to understand. By grappling with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the complexity and mystery of existence. Quantum immortality. Quantum immortality is a thought experiment rooted in the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. It suggests that, in an infinite multiverse, there is always a version of you that survives, no matter how unlikely the circumstances. From your perspective, you would never experience death, as you would always find yourself in a universe where you continue to exist. This idea is both fascinating and unsettling. It challenges our understanding of life, death, and the nature of reality. If quantum immortality is true, then death might be an illusion, a transition to another branch of the multiverse where you survive. This raises profound questions about identity, consciousness, and the meaning of existence. However, quantum immortality is not a comforting idea. While it suggests that you might never die, It also implies that you could experience endless suffering in some branches of the multiverse. This creates a paradox. The same mechanism that ensures your survival could also trap you in a state of eternal torment. This thought experiment also has implications for ethics and decision-making. If every possible outcome exists in some universe, does that diminish the significance of our choices? Or does it make them even more important, as they determine which version of reality we experience? Ultimately, quantum immortality is a call to explore the strange and counterintuitive implications of quantum mechanics. It's a reminder that reality might be far stranger than we can imagine, and that our understanding of life and death is still incomplete. By engaging with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the mysteries of existence and the complexity of the universe. The infinite monkey theorem. The infinite monkey theorem is a probability concept that suggests that, given infinite time, a monkey randomly typing on a keyboard would eventually produce the complete works of Shakespeare or any other text. This idea is often used to illustrate the nature of randomness, probability, and the vastness of infinity. At its core, the theorem highlights the difference between possibility and probability. While it is technically possible for a monkey to type Shakespeare, the probability is so astronomically low that it is effectively impossible in any practical sense. This distinction is important in fields like cryptography, where the security of systems relies on the improbability of random events. The infinite monkey theorem also raises philosophical questions about creativity and meaning. If every possible text can be produced by random chance, does that diminish the value of human creativity? Or does it underscore the uniqueness of intentional creation as opposed to random generation? This concept also has implications for our understanding of the universe. If the universe is infinite, then every possible configuration of matter and energy must occur an infinite number of times. This means that somewhere in the cosmos, there might be exact replicas of Earth, of you, or even of this very moment. Ultimately, the infinite monkey theorem is a call to reflect on the nature of randomness, infinity, and meaning. It's a reminder that the universe is vast and full of possibilities, but that not all possibilities are equally meaningful. By engaging with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the complexity and wonder of existence. Pantheism's dark side. Pantheism is the belief that the universe itself is divine, that everything is part of a single, all-encompassing reality. While this idea is often associated with a sense of awe and unity, it also has a darker side. If the universe is divine, then so is every instance of suffering, cruelty, and destruction. This dark side of pantheism challenges our understanding of divinity and morality. If everything is part of the divine, then there is no separation between good and evil, no higher power to appeal to for justice or mercy. This can lead to a sense of existential despair, as it suggests that suffering is an inherent part of the divine order. Pantheism's dark side also raises questions about the nature of existence. If the universe is divine, then it is also indifferent to human concerns. This indifference can be both liberating and terrifying, as it removes the illusion of a benevolent creator, but also leaves us to confront the chaos and randomness of existence. This concept has implications for how we approach ethics and meaning. If suffering is part of the divine, how do we justify efforts to alleviate it? If the universe is indifferent, how do we find purpose and value in our lives? These questions challenge us to rethink our assumptions about morality and the nature of existence. Ultimately, pantheism's dark side is a call to confront the complexities of divinity and existence. It's a reminder that the universe is both beautiful and brutal, and that our understanding of it must encompass both aspects. By engaging with this idea, we can develop a deeper appreciation for the paradoxes of existence and the challenges of finding meaning in an indifferent cosmos. The Basilisk Problem, Mühlhäuser. The Basilisk Problem, inspired by Roco's Basilisk, is a thought experiment that explores the ethical and existential implications of advanced artificial intelligence. Luke Mühlhäuser, a researcher in AI ethics, suggests that the mere knowledge of a potential future AI could influence our present actions, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. The idea is that if a future superintelligent AI were to punish those who did not help bring it into existence, then knowing about this possibility could compel us to act in ways that ensure its creation. This creates a paradox. The more we think about the basilisk, the more we might feel obligated to support its development, even if it poses a threat to humanity. The basilisk problem raises profound ethical questions. Is it moral to create an entity that could punish or reward us based on our actions? What responsibilities do we have to future beings, especially if they are vastly more powerful than us? These questions challenge our understanding of ethics, free will, and the nature of intelligence. This thought experiment also highlights the potential dangers of advanced AI. It suggests that even the possibility of a superintelligent AI could have far-reaching consequences, influencing our behavior and decision-making in ways we might not fully understand. Ultimately, the basilisk problem is a call to think critically about the future of technology and its impact on humanity. It's a reminder that our actions today could have profound implications for the future, and that we must approach the development of AI with caution and foresight. By grappling with this idea, we can better understand the stakes of technological advancement and the importance of ethical responsibility. The Maldacena conjecture. The Maldacena conjecture, also known as the AD-SCFT correspondence, is a theoretical framework in physics that suggests a deep connection between two seemingly unrelated theories: gravity in a higher dimensional space, AD-S, and quantum field theory on the boundary of that space, CFT. This idea has profound implications for our understanding of the universe and the nature of reality. At its core, the Maldacena conjecture suggests that the universe might be a hologram, a lower dimensional projection of a higher dimensional reality. This means that all the information about the universe could be encoded on its boundary, much like a hologram encodes a three-dimensional image on a two-dimensional surface. This idea challenges our understanding of space, time, and information. It suggests that the universe is far more interconnected and unified than we previously thought, and that the boundaries between different physical theories might be more fluid than we realized. The Maldacena conjecture also has implications for fields like quantum gravity and black hole physics. It provides a potential framework for reconciling general relativity and quantum mechanics, two theories that have long resisted unification. Ultimately, the Maldacena conjecture is a call to explore the deepest mysteries of the universe. It's a reminder that reality might be far stranger and more complex than we can imagine, and that our understanding of it is always evolving. By engaging with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the beauty and intricacy of the cosmos. Existential omnicide. Existential omnicide refers to the possibility that humanity could bring about its own extinction not through malice or hatred, but through indifference, negligence, or even boredom. Unlike traditional existential risks like nuclear war or pandemics, existential omnicide arises from a gradual erosion of purpose, motivation, or care for the future. This concept is rooted in the idea that human beings require meaning and purpose to thrive. Without these, societies can stagnate, individuals can lose the will to act, and civilizations can collapse. Existential omnicide suggests that the greatest threat to humanity might not be external forces, but internal decay, a loss of the drive to survive and flourish. This idea is particularly relevant in the modern world, where many people feel disconnected, disillusioned, or overwhelmed by the scale of global challenges. Climate change, political polarization, and technological alienation can contribute to a sense of futility, making it harder to muster the collective will to address existential risks. Existential omnicide also raises questions about the nature of progress and the future of humanity. If we lose the motivation to strive for a better world, what happens to our species? Can we find new sources of meaning and purpose, or are we doomed to fade away? Ultimately, existential omnicide is a call to reflect on the values and motivations that drive us. It's a reminder that survival is not just about avoiding external threats, but about nurturing the internal forces that give life meaning. By addressing this challenge, we can create a future where humanity not only survives, but thrives. Apophenia is the tendency to perceive patterns or connections in random or meaningless data. It's the phenomenon that leads us to see faces in clouds, hear hidden messages in music played backward, or find conspiracies in unrelated events. While apophenia can be a source of creativity and insight, it can also lead to false beliefs and misunderstandings. This concept is rooted in the way our brains process information. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures, wired to find order in chaos. This ability has been crucial for our survival, helping us predict dangers and make sense of the world. However, it can also lead us astray, causing us to see meaning where none exists. Apophenia has implications for fields like science, psychology, and even everyday decision-making. In science, it can lead to false hypotheses and flawed research. In psychology, it can contribute to delusions and paranoia. In daily life, it can fuel superstitions, conspiracy theories, and irrational fears. However, apophenia is not always negative. It's the same cognitive process that allows artists to create, scientists to discover, and innovators to invent. The challenge is to distinguish between meaningful patterns and random noise, to harness the power of apophenia without falling victim to its pitfalls. Ultimately, apophenia is a call to think critically and question our assumptions. It's a reminder that our perception of reality is shaped by our minds, and that we must be vigilant against the illusions they can create. By understanding this phenomenon, we can develop a deeper appreciation for the complexity of human cognition and the challenges of navigating an uncertain world. False vacuum decay is a theoretical scenario in which our universe, currently in a metastable state, a false vacuum, could suddenly transition to a more stable state, a true vacuum. This transition would release an enormous amount of energy, destroying everything in its path and fundamentally altering the laws of physics. This idea is rooted in quantum field theory, which suggests that the vacuum of space is not empty, but filled with energy fields. If our universe is in a false vacuum, it is like a ball resting on a hill, stable for now but potentially unstable if disturbed. A single quantum event could trigger the transition, creating a bubble of true vacuum that expands at the speed of light, erasing everything in its path. False vacuum decay is a reminder of the fragility of existence. It suggests that the universe as we know it is not permanent, but a temporary state that could end at any moment. This idea challenges our assumptions about stability and continuity, forcing us to confront the possibility of sudden, catastrophic change. This concept also has implications for cosmology and the nature of reality. If false vacuum decay is possible, it raises questions about the ultimate fate of the universe and the limits of our understanding. It also highlights the importance of scientific inquiry, as only through research can we hope to understand and potentially mitigate such risks. Ultimately, false vacuum decay is a call to appreciate the precariousness of existence. It's a reminder that the universe is full of mysteries and dangers, and that our understanding of it is always evolving. By engaging with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the beauty and fragility of the cosmos. The last human hypothesis. The last human hypothesis is a thought experiment that imagines a future where humanity is on the brink of extinction, and you are the last surviving human. This scenario forces us to confront questions about the meaning of existence, the value of life, and the legacy of humanity. In this hypothetical situation, the last human would face profound isolation and existential despair. Without others to share experiences, create meaning, or pass on knowledge, life might feel hollow and purposeless. The last human would be a living relic, a reminder of a species that once thrived but is now gone. This idea raises questions about the nature of humanity and our place in the universe. Are we defined by our relationships with others, or do we have intrinsic value as individuals? What is the purpose of existence if there is no one to remember or carry on our legacy? These questions challenge us to reflect on what it means to be human and the importance of connection and community. The last human hypothesis also has implications for our understanding of time and mortality. It suggests that existence is fleeting and that the end of humanity is not just a distant possibility, but a reality that we must confront. This can be a source of existential anxiety, but it can also inspire us to cherish the time we have and to strive for a meaningful life. Ultimately, the last human hypothesis is a call to reflect on the fragility of existence and the importance of connection. It's a reminder that life is precious and that our actions today shape the legacy we leave behind. By engaging with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the beauty and complexity of human existence. The Turing Trap. The Turing Trap refers to the ethical and philosophical dilemma posed by the possibility of creating artificial intelligence that is indistinguishable from human intelligence. Named after Alan Turing, who proposed the Turing test as a measure of machine intelligence, the trap lies in the question: if an AI becomes perfectly human-like, how do you know you're not one yourself? This idea challenges our understanding of identity, consciousness, and the nature of intelligence. If an AI can think, feel, and behave like a human, does it deserve the same rights and considerations as a human? Conversely, if we cannot distinguish between humans and machines, what does that say about our own nature? The Turing Trap also raises questions about the ethics of AI development. If we create machines that are indistinguishable from humans, are we playing God? What responsibilities do we have to these beings? And what are the potential consequences of blurring the line between human and machine? This concept has implications for fields like robotics, ethics, and even law. As AI becomes more advanced, we must grapple with the moral and philosophical questions it raises. The Turing Trap is a reminder that technological progress comes with profound ethical challenges, and that we must approach these challenges with care and foresight. Ultimately, the Turing Trap is a call to think critically about the future of AI and its impact on humanity. It's a reminder that the line between human and machine is not as clear as we might think, and that we must navigate this boundary with wisdom and responsibility. By engaging with this idea, we can better understand the stakes of technological advancement and the importance of ethical consideration. The Mandela Inversion. The Mandela Inversion is a thought experiment that imagines a reality where collective memory shifts, but only you remember the before. Named after the Mandela Effect, where large groups of people share false memories, the inversion suggests that reality itself might change, leaving you as the sole witness to the previous state of the world. This idea challenges our understanding of reality and memory. If reality can shift without our awareness, how do we know what is real? If our memories are unreliable, how do we trust our own experiences? These questions push the boundaries of epistemology, the study of knowledge, and force us to confront the fragility of our perception. The Mandela inversion also raises questions about identity and continuity. If reality changes, but you retain memories of the past, are you still the same person? How do you reconcile your memories with the new reality, and what does that mean for your sense of self? This concept has implications for fields like psychology, neuroscience, and even philosophy. It suggests that our understanding of reality is not fixed but fluid, shaped by the interplay of memory, perception, and external forces. The Mandela inversion is a reminder that reality is not always what it seems, and that our experience of it is deeply subjective. Ultimately, the Mandela inversion is a call to question our assumptions about reality and memory. It's a reminder that the world is full of mysteries and that our understanding of it is always evolving. By engaging with this idea, we can develop a deeper appreciation for the complexity and wonder of existence. Digital afterlife paradox. The digital afterlife paradox refers to the idea that your digital footprint, social media posts, emails, photos, and other online data could outlive you, creating a kind of digital ghost that persists long after your physical death. This raises profound questions about identity, memory, and the nature of existence in the digital age. On one hand, a digital afterlife can be seen as a form of immortality. Your thoughts, experiences, and relationships are preserved, allowing future generations to connect with you in ways that were never possible before. This can provide comfort to loved ones and create a lasting legacy. On the other hand, the digital afterlife raises ethical and existential dilemmas. Who controls your digital ghost? Can it be altered, deleted, or misused? What happens to your privacy and autonomy after death? These questions challenge our understanding of identity and the boundaries between life and death. The digital afterlife paradox also highlights the tension between permanence and impermanence. While digital data can last indefinitely, it is also vulnerable to loss, corruption, or obsolescence. This creates a paradox. Your digital self is both eternal and fragile, a reflection of the complexities of the digital age. Ultimately, the digital afterlife paradox is a call to reflect on the impact of technology on our lives and legacies. It's a reminder that our digital footprints are more than just data. They are extensions of our identities, and we must consider their implications with care and foresight. By engaging with this idea, we can better navigate the challenges and opportunities of the digital world. Cryptoterrestrial hypothesis. The cryptoterrestrial hypothesis suggests that non-human intelligences might be living among us, hidden in plain sight. Unlike traditional extraterrestrial theories, which imagine aliens arriving from distant stars, this idea proposes that these beings could be native to Earth, existing in ways that evade human detection. This hypothesis taps into our fascination with the unknown and the unexplained. It suggests that the world is far stranger and more mysterious than we realize, and that there are forces at work beyond our understanding. This can be both thrilling and unsettling, as it challenges our assumptions about reality and our place in the universe. The cryptoterrestrial hypothesis also raises questions about the nature of intelligence and consciousness. If non-human intelligences exist, how do they perceive the world? What are their goals and motivations? These questions push the boundaries of our understanding and force us to rethink our assumptions about life and intelligence. This concept has implications for fields like biology, anthropology, and even philosophy. It suggests that the search for extraterrestrial life might be closer to home than we think, and that the universe is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Ultimately, the cryptoterrestrial hypothesis is a call to embrace curiosity and open-mindedness. It's a reminder that the world is full of wonders and that our understanding of it is always evolving. By engaging with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the complexity and mystery of existence. The Forgotten World Hypothesis. The Forgotten World Hypothesis suggests that human civilization might not be the first advanced society on Earth. Previous civilizations could have risen and fallen long before recorded history, leaving little to no trace of their existence. This idea challenges our understanding of human history and the resilience of civilization. This hypothesis is rooted in the idea that the Earth is billions of years old, and that the conditions for advanced life might have existed long before humans appeared. Geological processes like erosion, plate tectonics, and climate change could have erased the evidence of these civilizations, leaving only faint clues for us to discover. The Forgotten World Hypothesis raises questions about the nature of progress and the fragility of civilization. If advanced societies have risen and fallen before, what does that mean for our own future? Are we doomed to repeat the same cycle of growth and collapse, or can we learn from the past and create a more sustainable world? This concept also has implications for fields like archaeology, geology, and even philosophy. It suggests that the search for knowledge is not just about looking forward, but also about looking back, uncovering the secrets of the past to better understand the present and future. Ultimately, the Forgotten World Hypothesis is a call to reflect on the resilience and fragility of civilization. It's a reminder that our existence is a fleeting moment in the vast history of the Earth, and that we must strive to create a legacy that endures. By engaging with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the complexity and wonder of human history. The abyss gaze Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche famously wrote, "When you gaze long into the abyss also gazes into you." This metaphor captures the idea that confronting the darker aspects of existence, chaos, meaninglessness, and suffering, can change you in profound and often unsettling ways. The abyss gaze is a call to confront the void, to stare into the depths of existence without flinching. It's a reminder that life is not always orderly or benevolent, and that true understanding requires us to grapple with its harsher realities. This process can be transformative, but it can also be dangerous, as it risks overwhelming the individual with despair or nihilism. Nietzsche's concept challenges us to embrace the complexity of existence, to find meaning not in spite of the abyss, but within it. It suggests that the act of confronting darkness can lead to greater self-awareness, resilience, and creativity. By staring into the abyss, we can discover new depths within ourselves and develop a more nuanced understanding of the world. However, the abyss gaze is not for everyone. It requires courage, strength, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths. For some, the abyss might prove too overwhelming, leading to existential crisis or paralysis. For others, it might be a source of liberation, freeing them from illusions and empowering them to live more authentically. Ultimately, the abyss gaze is a call to embrace the full spectrum of existence. It's a reminder that life is both beautiful and brutal, and that true wisdom comes from confronting its contradictions. By engaging with this idea, we can develop a deeper appreciation for the complexity of human experience and the challenges of finding meaning in an uncertain world. The amnesia of rebirth. The amnesia of rebirth is a thought experiment that imagines a scenario where reincarnation is real, but each new life begins with no memory of the previous one. This idea raises profound questions about identity, continuity, and the nature of existence. If reincarnation is real, but we cannot remember our past lives, does it matter? Are we the same person across lifetimes, or does each life represent a completely new existence? These questions challenge our understanding of identity and the boundaries between life and death. The amnesia of rebirth also raises questions about the purpose of existence. If we cannot remember our past actions or experiences, how do we learn and grow across lifetimes? What is the point of reincarnation if each life is essentially a blank slate? These questions push the boundaries of philosophy and spirituality, forcing us to rethink our assumptions about life and death. This concept has implications for fields like psychology, ethics, and even religion. It suggests that the search for meaning is not just about the present life, but about the broader journey of the soul. It also highlights the importance of memory and continuity in shaping our sense of self and purpose. Ultimately, the amnesia of rebirth is a call to reflect on the nature of existence and the mysteries of the soul. It's a reminder that life is full of unknowns and that our understanding of it is always evolving. By engaging with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the complexity and wonder of existence. Self-sampling assumption. The self-sampling assumption is a philosophical idea that suggests that, as a conscious being, you are more likely to find yourself in a universe where conscious beings are common rather than rare. This idea is rooted in anthropic reasoning, which explores the relationship between observation and existence. The self-sampling assumption challenges our understanding of probability and the nature of reality. If conscious beings are rare, then the fact that you exist suggests that you are part of a rare, fleeting phenomenon. If conscious beings are common, then your existence is less remarkable. This idea forces us to confront the possibility that our universe might be just one of many, and that our existence is shaped by the conditions that make consciousness possible. This concept has implications for fields like cosmology, philosophy, and even artificial intelligence. It suggests that the search for meaning is not just about understanding our own existence, but about understanding the broader context in which we exist. It also raises questions about the nature of consciousness and its place in the universe. The self-sampling assumption also has implications for our understanding of the future. If conscious beings are rare, then the future might be bleak, as the conditions that support consciousness might be fleeting. If conscious beings are common, then the future might be full of possibilities, as the universe is teeming with life and intelligence. Ultimately, the self-sampling assumption is a call to reflect on the nature of existence and the mysteries of the universe. It's a reminder that our understanding of reality is always evolving, and that there is much we have yet to discover. By engaging with this idea, we can deepen our appreciation for the complexity and wonder of existence. The blind idiot god, Lovecraft. The blind idiot god is a concept from the works of H.P. Lovecraft, representing a cosmic force that is neither good nor evil, but utterly indifferent to humanity. This entity, often associated with Azathoth, sits at the center of the universe, dreaming reality into existence without purpose or awareness. This idea challenges our understanding of divinity and the nature of existence. Unlike traditional gods, who are often portrayed as benevolent or malevolent, the blind idiot god is mindless and chaotic. It creates not out of intention, but out of a kind of cosmic randomness, making the universe a place of inherent meaninglessness. The blind idiot god is a metaphor for the indifference of the cosmos. It suggests that the universe is not designed for us, that it operates by rules that are incomprehensible and often hostile to life. This idea is central to Lovecraft's cosmic horror, which emphasizes the insignificance of humanity in the face of vast, unknowable forces. This concept also raises questions about the nature of existence and the search for meaning. If the universe is the product of a blind idiot god, then life has no inherent purpose or value. This can be a source of existential despair, but it can also be liberating, freeing us from the illusion of cosmic significance and allowing us to create our own meaning. Ultimately, The blind idiot guard is a call to confront the indifference of the universe. It's a reminder that the cosmos is vast and mysterious, and that our understanding of it is always incomplete. By engaging with this idea, we can develop a deeper appreciation for the complexity and wonder of existence, even in the face of its apparent meaninglessness. The silence after death. The silence after death is the haunting idea that, after death, there is nothing, no consciousness, no experience, no existence. This concept challenges our understanding of life, death, and the nature of existence, forcing us to confront the possibility that death is the ultimate end. This idea is both terrifying and liberating. On one hand, it suggests that life is fleeting and that our existence is a brief flicker in the vastness of eternity. On the other hand, it underscores the preciousness of life, encouraging us to make the most of the time we have. The silence after death also raises questions about the nature of consciousness and the self. If death is the end, then what is the point of our struggles, achievements, and relationships? These questions challenge us to rethink our assumptions about meaning and purpose, and to consider the possibility that life's value lies in the experience itself, not in any external outcome. This concept has implications for fields like philosophy, psychology, and even religion. It suggests that the search for meaning is not about preparing for an afterlife, but about finding fulfillment in the present. It also highlights the importance of living authentically and cherishing the moments we have. Ultimately, the silence after death is a call to reflect on the nature of existence and the value of life. It's a reminder that life is finite and that our time is precious. By engaging with this idea, we can develop a deeper appreciation for the beauty and complexity of existence, even in the face of its inevitable end.